Hello. Special guest, Dyson Buckingham, owner of Prestige Imports.
Yes.
And yeah, entrepreneur. I had the pleasure of working on your Lambo this week.
Thank you.
And I hit you up for coming in and having a chat because I think you're a pretty interesting guy.
Thank you.
And
good to be here.
what struck me, I guess, as a, nearly 47-year-old, was how did this young guy get to this stage of having a Lambo? So I'm like, I need to hear your story.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not sure it's too interesting.
Introduce yourself, what your business is and where you started and all that sort of stuff, I guess, to start with.
So yeah, my name is Dyson Buckingham. I own a company called Prestige Car Imports. I've had that business for 2.5 years now. I also own a business in New Zealand, in Christchurch. I spent a few years over there. But yeah, essentially I've loved cars since I was 16. Shout out to Dean Hammerlock, who you will know.
One of my customers as well.
Yep. He, when I was 16, I worked at Harvey Norman, and when I left high school, I went to a leavers dinner, and he took me for a ride in his black Supra many years ago.
That's a nice car too.
Before that, I honestly didn't care about cars. When I was in my teen years, couldn't care less. And I went for a ride in his Supra, and the turbo kicked in as we turned left to go onto the highway towards where Macca's is. And mate, my life changed. I've just fell in love. I got the boost hit, I went back in the seat, and I said to him, I said, mate, what was that? You know, he goes, it's a turbo. I said, mate, I'm all in. And I'm 29 now. I just turned 29. And that was when I was 16. And ever since then, I've just really loved cars. Initially, when I was younger, I worked at Harvey Norman. And then I got an opportunity when I was 20 to work for a local company in Burnie and doing marketing. So back then I think it was 2015, Facebook was big, but a lot of companies weren't using it. And similar to you with your TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, all of it, right? In 2015, especially a lot of older business owners, they just had no clue. And to be fair, I didn't know a lot either, but I knew enough to bullshit my way through the interview. So I got a job just doing Facebook marketing, and it was for a house building company.
Oh yeah, cool.
And anyway, long story short with that, I was there for 2 years, and the boss taught me a lot about business, about finance, about investing.
I'll pause you there.
Yeah, please.
Because, all right, I'll lead into getting to that, because that's a very important part of what I want to get to, but I don't want to rush straight into that.
Yeah, okay.
I want to get to the roots of where did this sort of, where did you start from, as in what sort of upbringing do you have? All that sort of stuff. So let's start from, where'd you go to school, as primary school?
Yep.
Where was that?
So I'm born in Burnie. 1995.
That's in Tasmania.
For the
North West Coast, for those that are viewing
for our mainland international viewers.
So Tasmania's in Australia, a little island down the bottom if you're not from Australia.
And I was born in Burnie. When I was young, we moved to Melbourne. I went to primary school only 1 year here, and then I did 4 years in Melbourne. We moved back here when in grade 5. Then I went to Acton, which is in Burnie as well. Then I went to Parklands High School. Nothing really eventful happened. Pretty standard upbringing. Lived in Burnie pretty much my whole life.
What would you say your social status was at school?
Just kind of the person who got along with all the groups. Not cool, not bottom, just kind of floating.
I'm leaning into this just because I'd like to get to know, like, it's interesting to find out where someone that becomes an entrepreneur that's successful, clearly.
Agreed.
Of people that may watch this when they're younger, of like, I don't feel like I really fit in, or I'm just a regular person, I'm not that popular person that looks like they're going to do well. You don't need to be that, do you?
Well, you don't, no, not at all, first of all. But when you're in high school, even before, even college, 17, 18, you're still so young. Anything can happen. You just don't know, and if things are not particularly great now, that doesn't mean that in the future they won't be excellent.
That's right.
At 16, I didn't even like cars. And here I am, running a car importing business.
And even if things are great then, it doesn't mean things will be great in the future either.
Correct.
So don't look at others with envy thinking, they've got everything, because it doesn't always work out great for them either.
Correct, and even for us, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's it.
In the next few years. But yeah, pretty normal upbringing, just in Burnie. Really loved my sports.
What did you play?
I played soccer.
Me too.
With Somerset Sharks. Did you?
Yeah.
Soccer's my favourite sport.
State champion grade under 14s, I think.
Let's go!
Yeah.
Yeah, I got lucky. When I was 17, I went to Somerset Sharks out in Somerset.
Nice.
And I just so happened to join. When I went to college at Hellier, I was in a class with one of the guys who went there, and they just so happened to be the best team by a mile. Yep. And my first year in under 18s, we didn't lose a game. We won the whole thing.
Yep.
And then a couple of years later, I played seniors, won 3 premierships with the Sharks. So I loved my soccer, played a bit of football, but unfortunately with these, I'm absolutely blind without them. And It's very hard to play AFL when a ball's coming at your face and you can't catch it. It's a lot easier when the ball's at your feet.
Yep.
And obviously football ground's a lot bigger. So I went to soccer and loved that.
Yep.
So,
cool.
nothing to
So just for those viewing from home, Hellier College is just a public school?
Yes,
no private school.
Nothing special. Parklands High School was at the time the lowest school that you could go to.
The roughneck school?
Yep, correct.
Yep.
That was where all the bogans went.
Yep.
That's where I went. Even Acton, similar thing.
Because, a lot of people would view someone like yourself without knowing you and look thinking you've had a privileged upbringing.
Not at all.
No.
Yeah.
So what jobs did your parents have? Do you mind if I ask about your family?
Yeah, of course.
I can edit it out if it's
inappropriate.
Happy to talk about my family. Are your parents married together?
So,
and jobs, upbringing, all that sort of stuff? Let's cover that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they'll love to hear about themselves. So
be nice.
Yeah, I'll be nice.
Love
your mum, love your dad.
Watch this.
So mum will definitely watch it.
Yeah.
So mum and dad split up when we were in Melbourne. I was only maybe 8 or 9.
Yep.
I remember it a little bit, but not very much. Pretty standard stuff, really.
I feel that. My parents divorced at 12.
Yep, so similar ages, classic.
Same.
And Dad played cricket for Tasmania. He's actually in the Tasmanian Cricket Hall of Fame.
Right.
He was very, very good. Probably could have played for Australia if he wasn't surrounded by a lot of other really, really good players at the time.
Right.
He was very close, did some tours and stuff. He works in finance now as a finance broker. Mum has worked at Harvey Norman in Burnie for, more than 10 years now. She's been there a long time.
Yep.
For work, she's just kind of done a bit of everything. She's always done kind of customer service facing roles ever since I was a kid. Dad's done a few different things. He managed a few cricket clubs when we were over in Melbourne. He's always been involved in cricket, but he's worked in finance for maybe close to the last 10 years. So they've never, they didn't own a mansion. We've never been crazy well off.
Yep.
It's been really just a kind of standard upbringing.
Regular, everyday sort of jobs.
Nothing special.
Yeah,
they didn't
obviously finance brokers a little bit sort of more advanced.
Yes.
And I guess,
But when I was a kid, they were just doing basic jobs to pay the bills.
Yep.
Nothing fancy. My stepdad, Daryl, he's been in HR for a long time. He's very, very good at it. So my mum and him got together, 12-ish years, maybe even longer now. So he's been in my life a long time.
Yep.
He's been a good influence as well. And he's been in HR for a long time. So he's had a pretty good job. But, I was maybe 15 or 16 when they got together. So it didn't affect the childhood part too much. But nothing crazy. They've all had good
brothers
jobs.
And sisters?
I've got 1 sister and 3 stepsisters.
Yep.
So Daryl had 3 daughters, and I've got my own sister Taylor, who actually works for me in admin and logistics, and she's been killing it. She's been with us for 6 months, and I'm so happy with her. She's been amazing.
That's awesome.
And I've got 3 stepsisters, Georgia, Emily, and Meg. Georgia we're really close with, Emily and Meg not so much. They've moved away. Other family, my family's very close. My cousin Sammy's my best mate. Our family's super tight.
That's cool. That's good.
Mum and dad's side, same thing, and they get along too, which is really good.
Yep.
Stepdad Daryl's side as well. Everyone gets along really well, which is really good.
Yep.
So that was one really good thing growing up. Parents always got along.
Yep.
Mum and dad and stepdad Daryl, no real massive dramas there, which was obviously very helpful.
Yep.
And look, me personally, I love my parents more than anything. Daryl, my dad and mum, love them all.
Awesome.
And they've, without their support, particularly, I would never have gotten into a position to be able to get that. So
Yep.
that has played a huge role in, to be honest, everything, because they've always kind of believed in me,
Yep.
which helps a lot. When you're chasing big dreams, you need support.
Yep.
And same with my best mate Sam, and Tim as well. They've supported me all the way for a long time. I've had Sam and Tim have been in my life. Sam's been in my life my whole life. We're only 1 month apart, or 2 months apart.
Yep.
So same age, he's always been there. And Tim I've known since I was 15 when I worked at Prady's, the Spud place of all places. That's was my first ever job.
One of my favourite takeaways when I was
real
younger.
good. And,
I try and avoid it now because I'm trying to cut off the carbs.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've been putting on a little bit lately too over the Christmas break while I've been home. So I'm trying to do the same thing. But yeah, Tim's been in my life as well. He's also an entrepreneur. He's got his own business. Shout out the Football House, and he's been there as well. He's a couple of years older than me, so he's been a good influence as well.
Yep.
But the support that I've had around me has been huge.
Cool.
And it's probably the reason I've done so well. I just got an alarm to say Pokey. I'm here.
Sweet. All right. So that I'm glad I went through that, because that will give people a lot more sort of insight and not be, I guess, forming a judgment of like, oh, this is just another privileged kid that's got mum and dad's money and loaned $1 million and started a business and blah blah blah, like a lot of people assume in a lot of ways. Especially if they just see you driving past them.
Well, to be fair,
I can guarantee you 50% of the population on the Northwest Coast think drug dealer.
Yes. Or God knows what else.
Yeah, God knows.
But they're not thinking
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Manager.
I haven't got one yet. I think OnlyFans manager, they do well. They do well.
Nearly been desperate enough to be that.
There have been times.
Oh yeah.
There have been times. Don't worry.
My followers have tried to con me into it years ago.
You doing it or?
Just jokingly, just leaving silly comments.
I reckon it'd blow up if you did.
For a week.
But no. If you did like there's this video. I can't remember. I saw it on Instagram ages ago, but it's a video of a guy working at a mechanic shop, and he's got the Britney Spears thing, and he's cleaning the car. I reckon that'd blow up if you did that, and it'd be hilarious.
I'd hate to think of who would be paying for that. I don't want to ever meet them.
Maybe down the track, I might have to
put the balaclava on,
so they don't know. There's a lot of people who do
mirror image the workshop so everyone
they don't know.
Gets confused maybe.
Yeah, like big black
people
screen
will still pick it
behind
up because they always film with the front camera and it looks backwards.
I think you should leave the garage door open and really own it. I think it'd be hilarious. And if you put that on TikTok...
I can just imagine Grandma coming in with a Corolla to get a service.
And you're half
here I am all over the Supra.
Just...
All right, anyway. Let's get not too far off topic.
Yes.
So let's get into, you started working at Harvey Norman.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people, I know I'm guilty of this. My upbringing was from a poor family. Like I would rate my situation as being below the average when I started working. My first job was in the Navy. So that was like, all of a sudden I'm rich.
Yeah.
And I
serious job too.
Well, serious job, but I had this vision of like, wow, like it was $900 a fortnight back then, but like that was when the average weekly wage that my dad was earning was $350.
Yes, that's
like, so it was pretty good money.
Especially young.
It was really good money for a 17-year-old kid.
And as you've grown up.
And I thought that was the ceiling. I didn't know there was higher.
Yeah.
So I want to get to like, where did you discover that there's no limit? Like, you started working at Harvey Norman. You obviously are someone that I personally thought, oh, this is it, and I wasted a lot of money and partied and sort of celebrated a bit.
Yeah.
Let's go through how you sort of got from, you obviously would have got money and then spent it and wasted it and stuff like that, as we all did.
It's a classic.
Let's go through all that sort of experience of life.
Yeah, so good question. 15 worked at Prady's for a year. Quick shout out to Trudy, who was my boss. She was incredible. My stepsister Georgia actually worked there, and Sam worked there, and that's where I met Tim. So my stepsister worked there, my cousin worked there before me. And then I got the job probably just off the back of them talking me up.
Coattail rider?
Yep, and I was there for a year, and Trudy was an amazing boss. You know, we were only young, and she looked after us really well. So it was a good environment, good learning. After that, I finished college, year 12 at Hellier, and I did a year of law. And I did a year of law, and I bet you this at UTAS in Burnie.
Right.
And I bet you there's some people out there who've seen Suits. And the only reason I did law, have you seen Suits?
I've only snippets, I know what it is, but I haven't watched it.
I loved it when I was younger.
Right.
And it was airing at the time when I was 18. And so I thought, this is cool as, like I love it. I wanted to be a lawyer. I did a year of law. I went to the Burnie Magistrates Court and had to sit there for an hour, and then I was done. I gave up on that dream.
Yep.
So I took the year off.
They make you look good on TV.
They do. It was not like that, especially when you go to the Burnie Magistrates Court and they're doing drunk driving fines for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I gave up on that pretty quickly after a year. I had a gap year that year. I was at uni for about 3-4 months, and then I thought, this is not for me. So I took probably 4 months off because I took a gap year for the rest of the year, and then I started working at Harvey Norman because Mum was at Harvey Norman. So she just got me a job in the cash desk.
Actually, so when you say a gap year, did you go somewhere?
Didn't do anything, just stayed here.
Just bludged?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just out of bludge?
I went to bed at 5 in the morning.
Especially when you're a kid.
Yep, and got up at 2.
Theoretically, you're still a kid. Yeah.
So I did nothing.
Back then?
That year I did nothing. Then I turned 18 in the 24th of November that year, and I started working at Harvey Norman in the cash desk.
Yep.
My mum worked there and my sister worked there. So my sister actually worked there for a year before me. So she even though she's
a theme going here of getting jobs for your family.
Yes, it's a common theme. Yes, they do get me in the door. I went to that job, and my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, was actually in charge. And when you're 18 and your sister's 16, you haven't quite grown up enough to get along that well.
No,
so it was an interesting start. But I started in the cash desk at Harvey Norman, just doing 3 days a week. And Boxing Day, which is the biggest day for Harvey Norman every year, they needed me to help out with a tent that was out the front. And all they wanted me to do was move TVs in and out and restock once the tent had been kind of sold out.
Right.
And anyway, I was in the tent at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd only been in the cash desk at this stage, and I was still 18. And I ended up selling 5 TVs. Even though I wasn't supposed to.
Right.
So I was wearing a high vis.
Yep.
I was wearing shorts and a tank top. It didn't even look like I worked there. But we had I set up this display of Hisense TVs, and they were a really good price. So I didn't have to do too much selling, to be fair. But people were just walking in. We were kind of overwhelmed, and people just kind of started talking to me. And I just was talking to them, and I ended up selling 5 TVs that day. And Taryn, who was in charge at the time, he said, "Dyson, mate, I got to get you on the floor." Yep. I heard you, and the way you're talking to the customers, you walked up to the cash desk, you haven't even done that before. You
just did it intuitively.
I just kind of did it. And I've always been really social. I just love chatting. So at that stage, I wasn't even trying to sell them anything. I was just saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Yep. And they just ended up buying stuff.
And that is a very key thing in sales, isn't it?
100%.
I'll pause just there. I just want to double check this is recording correctly.
Yeah, please.
Because
I don't want to waffle on too much and it's not working.
No, it's just speak on yours.
Yes, hello.
Yep, cool. No, I've had issues before where I was 20 minutes in and this was blank and I didn't know.
I did 3 hours of recording one day with my videographer, and he didn't turn the microphone on.
Oh, I've done that. That's why I was just double checking that was all the bars were working and stuff.
But on his thing, I'm not sure if it was because the mic was off. On his camera, where you can see if it's working, it was saying it was working.
Yep.
So he thought it was fine, and we did 3 hours of video shoots, and then he went home. We thought it was all good. He went to look at the footage. He said, "Mate, didn't record any audio." I went, "Oh no!" And I'd done some really good takes too.
I had a bad mishap. I've got a $3,500 GH5 camera.
Yes.
And I was out recording where it was windy.
Oh no.
And big Rode mic on the top of it.
Yeah.
Fell over where the camera microphone jack goes into the side of the whole body of the camera. Smashed the side of the camera in.
No way.
Fucking $800 repair.
They're good cameras too.
Oh yeah, awesome camera.
They're the bigger ones, aren't they?
Yeah, big SLR video camera.
Have you still got it?
Yeah, still use it, but it's not real. This is actually works better for this sort of thing. It just stays in focus better.
That's kind of a pain to set up too, no?
Yeah, it's hard work, but it's wicked for track use. That's what I was using it for. I was traveling Australia. I was making video ads and stuff like that.
It's really good because you don't get as much motion blur, right, when the cars are going past pretty quick.
Yeah, just you can focus on the car and get just
the car
really,
and follow it along.
Yeah, really specific.
Yeah, okay.
And I got it mainly because it's got wicked slow-mo capabilities.
Yeah.
And you can get some sick shots.
That would be good.
Yeah. Right, so you got put onto the floor.
Yes.
And then obviously, as most people know, if you don't, you need to catch up to the world.
Yeah.
You get fairly decent sort of commissions when you're working at Harvey Norman for selling.
If you're good,
so if you're good at it,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's.
I know a woman that, she made some money at Harvey Norman.
Yeah. If you're especially if you're in the mainland,
she could sell so well.
Yeah. Depending on what section you're in and whether you're in the mainland, it just depends. Even if you're not in the mainland, even in Burnie,
at
Harvey Norman Burnie, you can make some of the most money you can make in Burnie.
Yeah.
Without being, a welder or a high-paying
for a
physical
non-skilled job.
100%. It's probably the only job that you could walk into, and if you're good at it, make 90 to 100K if you're really good.
Yeah.
So 18, going in my 19th year, I got put on the floor. So I was doing 1 day in the cash desk and I was doing 2 days on the floor. So I was just casual, and I just took to it. It was, at that time I was actually working with Dean Hammerlock and Nick, his brother.
I didn't know Dean worked there.
Yeah, Dean worked at Harvey Norman.
Wow.
For a long time.
Right.
Yeah, he was there for a while. So when I was...
Okay.
So I kind of knew everyone at Harvey Norman because my mum had worked there for so long.
Yep.
I knew kind of everyone already.
Yep.
And Dean had obviously taken me 2 years prior to my leavers dinner.
Yep.
So I worked with Dean in Browns and his brother Nick, which was really good. They were good to be around. And when you're entering a job like that, it can be really tough at the start because, people just walk in and you just got to go and talk to them. And if you don't have the confidence and a good knowledge base, I knew a lot about electronics already, so I was covered there. But, just chatting doesn't get you through the whole sales process, particularly with older people. You do have to do a bit of selling.
Yep.
And they were really good at, because the first probably month is pretty tough when you're just walking up to people and you're not sure on your sales pitch yet and how everything works. You're still getting used to the system. So they were really good. Everyone there was really good.
Yep.
But the first month, just absolutely winging it, I managed to do pretty well. So then after maybe 3 or 4 months, I stopped in the cash desk completely and I was just on the floor. And I started doing around maybe towards the end of that year, October, November, December, when it starts to get really busy, people are doing Christmas shopping and things. I was working 5-6 days a week, casual plus commission, and I was making a lot of money. I was probably making $1,000 a week.
Yep.
And I did absolutely nothing with it. I went to Greens, which is the local nightclub in Burnie.
Been there a few times.
Yep. And pissed most of it away. Yep. I was very good at saving.
Yep.
But I wasn't doing anything with the money. I was still living at home. I was earning good money, especially at that age, 19, earning between $800,000 a week.
Did you own a car by this stage?
I drove.
What was your first car?
My first car.
And at which stage in life did you buy it?
My first car, my dad gave me for free because it was a heap of crap. It was a Daewoo, the same vehicle that's in the Pineapple Express movie. It's a red Daewoo wagon. It had 320,000 kilometers on it. It was automatic and it barely ran. I got it when after I got my license, my Ps, and my dad gave it to me. He was going to put it in the bin, but I got it, which was good.
Yep.
I drove that around for 2 years, and then when I started making some money, I went and bought my first ever car I bought was a 2005 Hyundai Elantra. It was $3,500.
Big step up from
Big step up. I only had 120,000 on the clock.
Yep.
Unfortunately, at that time, I could only drive auto. Thank God I eventually taught myself how to drive a manual. But I only had an auto car to learn in. So unfortunately, I had to. So I drove that. That was the first car I bought. Quick, I think this is very important. When I bought that car, the car was $5,000. I was 19. My dad was in finance at the time. And this is to all the people out there who maybe if you're 18 or 19 and you don't know how credit scores work, how finance and things work, we can maybe get into a little bit of that, but
for sure.
It is very, very important. When I was 19, my dad said to me, right, the car's $5,000, go and get a loan for $1,500. Very small amount. I went and got a loan for $1,500 and I paid cash $3,500 for the difference. I had about 10 grand in my bank account at the time. But he said, trust me, this is going to do wonders for you when you go to buy a house later, when you go to get another car loan, if you have a business and you want to get a business loan, whatever it may be.
Yep.
So at 19, I went and bought my first car. I paid $3,500, got a loan for $1,500. I paid the $1,500 loan out in like 6 or 7 months. But when you're 18 or 19 or 20, if you've never had finance before, even if you're 24, if you've never had finance, the bank has no idea if you can make repayments.
Yeah, even
you can't prove it.
I know people that haven't had a loan until they're 30.
Me too. And
it's almost depressing.
And it's almost impossible too for them to get the loan because they can't prove their history.
Yeah, you have to start like you're a 19-year-old.
Correct. When you're 30, it's tough.
I've seen people when they're 30 thinking I've saved and earned everything I've got,
and
then they save up for a house deposit and can't get it.
Correct. Because the bank doesn't trust them.
They've got 40 grand in the bank, can't get a house.
I've seen it.
And they own everything they've got. Like they've got nice cars and they've got everything.
Yeah, they've got money in the bank. They've got savings. They're doing well.
Yeah, it's just how unfortunately how the finance industry works. They can have all the evidence of saving as you like.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
And I think it's really important, particularly in these days when you've got things like Afterpay, Zip Pay, all that stuff. Banks hate that first of all, but that doesn't show capacity to repay loans.
No.
So luckily my dad.
Credit card does.
Yes, credit card will. Any type of loan, proper loan with the bank.
Don't be like me when I was young and had a credit card and just paid the minimum amount.
Yes.
If you buy something on a credit card, have the ability of paying back what you bought in that month.
Correct. I do the same thing now. That was another good piece of knowledge.
I am swindling repayments on things with credit cards.
Yep, me too.
Like we've got accounts where we get bonus points with stuff we buy through the business.
Yes.
So all the parts and stuff that we buy in
Yep.
is put onto an account that gives us bonus points.
Yep.
And then we pay
with
that account with the credit card that gives us bonus points on the credit card. Then we pay the credit card off with the money that we've got from the customers to pay for it.
Yep.
So you're getting double the benefit of having two debts on the one purchase.
And that's brilliant because you can do a lot with those points.
Oh yeah.
But
it's got a lot of things.
I think when you're younger, I'm not telling you to go and get a loan for $1,500. If you can afford it and you get approved for it, it's a very good idea to build your credit rating up.
I guess a bit of advice for young people there, and this is stuff I've instilled this on other younger people as well, is only get a loan if you've got that much money in the bank or more. That if you get in trouble and you lose your job and you've got no income, you can just go, right, I have that debt, here's $5,000, it's gone. Or here's $1,500, it's gone. And you've still got whatever your savings is left. That's something that my parents had no money knowledge and didn't talk to me, didn't educate me about any of it. And I've only learnt that like after being 30. Like I was atrocious right through most of my adult life until I met my wife, really.
And then you locked in and...
Yeah, well, it's just, I was a real late person to coming to the party of understanding finances, even though I've had businesses and stuff before that.
It's hard because you don't get taught any of this stuff.
No. And it's a taboo thing to talk about.
Correct.
Which is depressing.
It should be taught. The problem is if your parents can't tell you and you're not surrounded by people, and this is one of the things, particularly in a small town where I'm from in Burnie, the knowledge of anything to do with finance, credit, investing, things like this, that unless you have someone who can teach you, you can't learn it. And you can watch videos and things and you can listen to this and that's great. But it's better if you have multiple sources of that information.
And it doesn't make sense to a lot of people until they experience it either.
Correct.
It's sort of like you can read a book on how to sell, you can read all the self-help books you like.
Until you're doing it.
Until you actually go through the process of exchanging something for someone to pay you money for.
Agreed.
You have no idea how hard that actually is. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And
everyone's different.
The better you get at it, the more money you get.
Correct. And I just think
And if you can do it with someone else's money, like Harvey Norman,
correct.
learn how to sell that way. That's
Yes.
a really, really good
Well,
way.
that was
Not McDonald's.
not McDonald's. If you can get, if you're younger, and so the thing is, at the time I didn't have a passion, so it was kind of the perfect job. I was good at selling because I'm just good at talking. Lots of shit, but hey, that's what people like to talk about. So I was really good at that. But at the time, I had zero idea what I wanted to do.
Yep.
I liked cars, but it wasn't something I was like, I have to work in cars.
Yep.
I have to be involved with cars. I wasn't thinking about that. I just liked them. What I really liked, genuinely, was the interaction with the people.
Yeah, cool.
And for me, it's always been the people.
Yep.
When you're selling, I've always liked this quote. If you're really selling, you're not selling anything. You don't have to sell it.
No.
The thing will sell itself. All you have to do is guide the person along the journey and keep them happy. And if they're happy, they'll buy it. Because most of the people have already bought it in their head. You just have to ease them through the process. And if you get along with them, it's even better.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of salesmen who are very good at selling, but they're not people pleasers.
No.
In fact, they're the opposite. And they're very good at selling to people who are similar to them. And that works fine for them. But I've always come from the view that if you get along with the customer well, not only will they buy this TV today, back then, but they'll come back.
Yep.
And they will ask for you. Whereas if you're stern and that, you might get the deal on the day, but they won't come back.
They'll also bring their family back.
Correct. And their cousin.
Yep.
And their cousin's cousin.
Yep.
And then the whole family's coming to shop just for you. And that's how, particularly at Harvey Norman and in my business as well, that is how you get wealthy.
Yep.
You don't get wealthy off that one TV today. You get wealthy off the 10 people that come in because you treated that person with compassion, respect, understanding, and they liked you. You know, you can sell and people don't like you. You can still be a good salesman, and that's fine. You will make 100 to 200 grand a year. Great. But to break past that, they have to be singing your praises because they're going to tell everybody. I went and saw that, mate, Pokey's mechanical. Not only did he fix what I wanted him to fix, but he was great to talk to. You know, I messaged him on Facebook or whatever, which is what I did with you.
Yep.
And you replied at 8 o'clock at night and said, yeah, mate, of course I can help. And you even said, look, Dyson, I'm not an expert in these cars, I'll be honest with you, but you know, I'm sure I can figure it out. I was like, well, that's exactly what I want to hear.
It's nuts and bolts at the end of the
day,
you're
honest.
Is what I thought.
And guess what? Now I'm coming back.
Yep.
I'm sitting here.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Yep.
You know, a lot of, particularly mechanics, workshops and things, they're good at the mechanical side, but they're not good at the customer side. So they will do well because they're good mechanics, but they will not go any further than that.
Yep.
You can't grow because people, I'm now recommending you to people.
Yep. Cool.
If you had just fixed my car and not replied to me and just said, come pick it up at 4 o'clock tomorrow, I wouldn't be recommending you. But you didn't necessarily go a crazy extra step. You just treated me like a human with a bit of respect, bit of compassion. You had time for me. You know, even though I drive this car, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not an expert in it. So what you're telling me, I just believe.
Yep.
But if you hadn't have been respectful, compassionate, maybe I didn't believe you. And that's when you get into arguments but you were great.
And I'm genuine and honest. Like
Correct, and that's the thing.
There's some gaskets that this has required that I rang up Lambo. That's the only place that I knew that I could get a price for the parts. Oh my God, the dearest gaskets I've ever had a quote for in my life.
Yes, I didn't like getting that message.
And I was honest with him. I'm like, not sure if you're going to like the price.
Yeah.
And I prepped him for it in a compassionate way of like, look, I'm aware this is going to be a shock, but they're blah, 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 how much they were.
Expensive gaskets, yes.
And it's like, God, I paid less for that day we're out there that it's a courtesy car for a pair of gaskets.
Well, I Googled like just a Toyota Corolla gasket, $50-100. And I went, oh, well, you know, that's the Lambo tax, I guess.
It's just Lambo tax.
But I think,
it's just a rubber gasket at the end of the day. We've seen it here.
Yes,
mate,
when you handed me the gasket, I could not believe.
That's how much it was?
Yes.
Oh, I couldn't either.
I couldn't believe it.
Disgusting.
I went, this thing, and I could 3D print this. But That's just what it is. But I think to go past and go beyond, you have to have compassion and understanding for your customers. And
for sure.
But Harvey Norman, when I was there, it taught me all of that.
Yep.
So nothing really exciting happened for the next few years. I was at Harvey Norman till I was 21, so probably 2 years. I saved a good amount of money. I probably saved about 25 grand in those 2 years.
How old were you then?
20, late 20s, 21.
That's a lot of money for a 21-year-old.
Yes.
In most demographics, if you divided all 21-year-olds up,
yes,
I can guarantee you're in the top 1%.
Oh, easy. And
if you're 21 and you can save $25,000, you're doing extremely well.
Yeah, if you $10,000 is excellent savings for someone that age.
If you want to be that person, don't go out on the piss every weekend.
Well, I will caveat that. Yes and no.
Yes and no. You go and enjoy yourself.
Yes.
Go and live life.
Yeah.
But make sure you're putting some away.
You can't.
Make sure you don't spend the whole lot.
See, me, let's just say I was on average, I probably earned maybe just say $750 after tax a week, right? I would save 500 of that every single week, and the 250. I was living at home. I was only 20. The 250 was my do whatever you want money.
Yep.
That paid for my fuel. That paid for my insurance for my car. I could pay for my gym membership. And then maybe had $170 out, and I would honestly go to Greens probably most weekends. Yep. But I wouldn't spend a fortune.
Yep.
I'd maybe spend $100.
But
I'd already saved 500, so I feel good.
My younger days, my whole Navy pay every fortnight would be zero.
Yeah.
From the end of the week, it'd be Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night.
I think a big thing for me was I didn't gamble.
Yeah,
I didn't go to the slots.
Gambled.
You didn't either?
I've never gambled. I hate the idea of it.
Yeah, I never played the slots or anything.
Unless horses I have, but I'm not addicted to
it.
I
play poker,
for an event.
I play poker. I'm a big poker guy. But back then, I did not ever gamble at all. And nowadays, the amount of 19 and 20-year-olds getting on the piss and just $50 note into the machine, I think that was a big thing that allowed me to save a lot of money.
Yeah.
It also helped that, mum and dad, they wanted me to save money. They said, you need to save this amount, so you can be set up. And they didn't really have any plans for me, and I didn't have any plans. I just thought, right, well, I can save 500 a week. I can still have fun with 250.
Yep.
And live my life.
You can have more fun with 750, but...
Correct.
But you can't have more fun later in life.
Correct. And at the time, I didn't really understand that. I just was saving for the sake of saving, because I liked seeing the number go up. That was really it.
Yep.
So when I turned 21, or just before I turned 21, I finished up at Harvey Norman because I got the job at the house building company in Burnie doing the marketing.
Yep.
And same thing, my dad worked there,
yep.
being a finance broker. He didn't get me the job, he just mentioned that I knew a lot about Facebook. So I had toyed while I was at Harvey Norman with starting a business, but it was very half-hearted. I tried to sell a few things online through a Shopify store, with some drop shipping, things like that. I'd run some ads in the past for myself, nothing advanced, but I had a knowledge base of how to run ads on Facebook. And none of those really panned out, but I'd always been interested in doing something business-wise. I just didn't really know what. So I went in for an interview with the owner of the house building business, and pretty much within 15 minutes I'd got the job. He didn't know a lot about Facebook at all, and I just blew him away with my wizardry, and I was not doing anything particularly good. Yeah. I just knew more than...
You just explored it and learnt it.
Yeah, and they didn't have anyone at the time.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing what just that small amount of experience.
Small knowledge base. Yeah, and it was just, honestly, I'd only gotten that knowledge from YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I watched YouTube, and I was so far off an expert, it's crazy. I was still at low beginner levels. But the guy running the place, he had no knowledge base.
Yep.
So he was like, fucking, mate, you're a wizard. I was like, thank you, but this is pretty basic stuff. Yep. Obviously, I didn't say that to him. But I got that job, and that was my first full-time job. So I'd always been casual at Harvey Norman. That was my first full-time job when I was just about to turn 21. That job, for the first 6 months, I was lazy, because I wasn't casual anymore. When you're casual, it's a bit harder to be lazy, because if you're casual, they can just get rid of you.
Yep.
So, and I started the full-time job, and I became a bit lazier actually.
Right.
I was still saving a similar amount of money. I earned a little bit less at the house building company because I wasn't casual, but I had, the guarantee. I became lazy and unmotivated for the first 6 months. And I'll never forget this, especially when you're younger and you're kind of starting your first full-time job. At least this is what happened with me. I was like, beautiful, full-time job, could save my money, know exactly how much, because I'm casual before, didn't know how much money I was going to get each week. Now I know how much money I'm going to get. I can budget for this, this, and this. And I had no drive in the business. Because what I was doing, I'm sitting in front of a laptop all day. So, an hour of the day, I was probably just playing Pokemon and not even working. So I had no drive or motivation. And about 6 months in...
Does your boss know this if he watches it?
Well, he does now, if he watches this. But they're not stupid. They knew that I wasn't putting in 100%.
Did you get pulled up by him? Or?
No, never.
No?
But what happened was, about 6 months in, so we used to all work together. The boss used to work in the same office with us, but he was always kind of overseas. He wasn't there all the time, and he had an office in Hobart as well. He was maybe there half the week. About 6 months in, I was sitting in the office with a couple of the other sales guys, and I only did the marketing, and the boss came in, and it was about 4:30, so almost knock-off time. And they were in the other office, but I could overhear them talking about investing and property. And I was a little bit interested. So I went into the office at about, before I was knocking off. I just walked in kind of to say goodbye. But I was like, how does that work? And we had maybe a half-hour conversation, and I was interested. So I was like, okay, no problem. But I was like, it's 5:30, I'm knocking off. I don't want to stay here. I got in the car, halfway home, I went, hold on, why did I leave? That was really interesting. I was learning a lot. I turned the car around and I went back. That night I was at the office with the boss and the two salesmen until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Just talking, investing, finance, business, wealth, property, just all kinds of things that I didn't even know I was interested in until that day.
Yep.
And
was that the day you think maybe you clicked to like...
Mate, my life changed.
How much more is possible in life?
Yes.
Yep.
There's a reason I remember it specifically. That day, I remember walking back into the office, and I remember them being like, did you forget something? I was like, nah, I was interested in, they were talking about a land development out in Hobart. I was like, I was really interested in it. Like, how does all this work? And mate, they ordered Indian, and we sat there till 3 in the morning. I went back to work at 8 the next day, and then I was there until 10 o'clock that night. Something changed in my brain. I honestly don't know what, but I went, these guys know a lot of stuff that I don't know anything about.
Yep.
And hearing them talk about it was really interesting. And something for me just flicked. And I went, right, this is interesting. I could learn a lot here. And what happened that day was, before that, for the 6 months when I was there, I was just working 9 to 5. Check in, check out, don't give a crap. After that day, I didn't have hours anymore. I didn't care when I got there and when I left, and neither did they.
Yep.
Because now I was hooked. I was like, I want to know everything.
Did your actual job as a marketer on social media step up a level too?
Everything stepped
up. Because you were
up.
Passionate. Well, you found a new passion for
What's
it.
funny, my gym stepped up, my sports stepped up.
Yep.
Everything stepped up. And it was just like I woke up. The last 6 months I'd been in a coma, just checking in, checking out.
Yep.
And I think what happened was, I had over 6 months, right? They're always in the office. They're always talking about this stuff. But I had never thought, oh, well, that's interesting. But then they were talking about this land development. I just went, I have literally no idea what they're talking about. Like, I know how land development kind of works. I know what a block of land is. I knew how finance worked because my dad had explained some of that to me. But I didn't have any idea about all this more technical stuff.
Yep.
And some of the words they were saying, I didn't know. They were talking about a title, a land title, a deed that you own the land. I didn't know what that was. I was like, what is that? So it got me curious, and it made me start asking questions. And it was just a switch. Everything in my life. It was like I woke up and went, right, I was still doing the same job. My job didn't change for probably another 4 months, but I was now getting there at 9, and we would finish at 5, and we would go to the boss's house, and I would be there till 2 a.m. And we would be brainstorming marketing ideas. We would be talking about land. We would be talking about property development. We would be talking about wealth, finance, interest rates, credit. Like, these guys were older than me, and they had all this knowledge.
Yep.
And the owner had, he had many businesses before, so he knew a lot about it. And it was just interesting finding out about it all, how all this stuff works. So for the next 6 months, you could say I was doing 18-hour days, but I wasn't getting paid after 5, but I didn't care.
Yep.
Because the knowledge I was getting
Yeah.
was worth 10 times the amount of time I was spending.
It's a compounding
Correct.
thing once you start learning that sort of stuff. Yeah, I
still use that knowledge today.
I envy that because I haven't had that opportunity to sit down with those kind of people before. But I've sat down with other types of people that have given me advice and knowledge, but not in a lengthy time span of repetitiveness like you've got. That's a very fortunate, lucky kind of
I
situation
agree.
to
I think,
find yourself in.
I think it's
good.
See, like, what could have happened?
It's interesting. I wonder how many people are watching this that are just a Facebook marketer or a social media marketer for a business that could take this opportunity.
Or doing any 9 to 5 that they haven't.
Yeah.
What I would say, because I could have kept doing my 9 to 5, and I probably would have not worked there another 4 months.
Yeah.
I could have just kept clocking in and clocking out. I think the one piece of advice that I could give someone younger is wherever you work, I don't care where it is, even if you do work at McDonald's, right? The manager may have worked at McDonald's 20 years. He may have a couple properties. He may know things.
Yep.
All you have to do is just ask. And I hadn't been asking questions. And what really changed for me was, when I was sitting there that night until 3 a.m, I was asking all these questions. And what you'll find if someone is passionate or cares about something, they're happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
They don't care that it's going till 3 a.m.
Yeah, what I've actually found is when people know they've done a good thing for themselves to benefit their future or their life, they're happy to share how they've done it and what they've done.
Agreed.
And it feels, especially if you come from a background that I came from, it's very taboo. My parents weren't really rich.
They didn't talk about finance.
They were not good with money.
Yeah.
And on this, actually, this is something that on your way here that I've been reflecting a little bit on myself of if you're a parent, and I'm going to say this to the camera, if you're a parent and you're having finance troubles at home, don't have the arguments about finance in front of your kids anywhere near they can even hear it, because that developed from my home and my upbringing, and that created the divorce, and that also is a thing that created a negative relationship for me as a 12-year-old kid with money. Avoid that at all costs.
And it sticks with you.
It stuck with me for a long time, and it's very unfortunate that it took me until I was in my mid-30s
to break
before
it.
I actually broke from that.
And it's not, when it's that young, it's ingrained.
Oh,
so it's really hard. I got
terrible.
I got very lucky.
It is
because
woeful.
My parents were terrible with money when I was younger.
Yeah.
When my mum got with Daryl, Daryl had worked in HR for a long time, had a house. He kind of knew a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
I wasn't that curious when I was younger, but because my parents had similar arguments about finance and stuff when I was young, 9, 10. Luckily, I think I was under 10, so I don't remember quite all of it. 12 is a pretty shitty age for a divorce, because you remember a bit more and it affects you a bit more, because you understand a bit more.
Yeah.
I was about 9, but I do remember those arguments. But luckily, in my teenage years, my dad went into finance. He had a really good understanding of that. And my stepdad, Daryl, was really good with money.
Yep.
So, because mum's never been into that type of stuff. She's always had savings and things, but she's not about investing and property and all this stuff. But Daryl was really good with money. So that was really good to learn from him. And then as I got older, from my dad, who helped me a lot, especially when I was 18, you know, with the loan and that stuff. But you're right, that type of thing is hard to get rid of.
Yep.
You've got to make a conscious effort to try and change your way of thinking.
Yeah, I don't know what, I don't have a particular moment, and I'm not a wealthy person, I can say that straight up. But I work hard to try and not be a poor person.
Yes. Well, wealth is different for everyone.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm definitely wealthy in comparison to what my upbringing was.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you have a? Okay, waffling about myself.
You're right.
Later, do you have a? I can point to just that day. I swear to God, that day changed my life.
Yeah, no, I don't have a particular moment.
It just
I know
knowledge
I had
you'd accumulated,
hunger, but it slowly accumulated. Like, so I started life off in working in the Navy. Then decided I didn't want to be a nomad of just travelling around and getting. I had no choice of where I was going to be. Like, I got shifted from Melbourne to Perth, back to Melbourne to Newcastle to, like, I had no stability or control over where I was.
Couldn't settle in.
And, like, I think maybe four relationships of girls that I met that were civilians, not in the Navy, that I was really liked, get moved away from. And it's like, oh, you can't uphold that. And it's like, just bad luck. That's where you need to be. There's a job there that you need to do, and you have to go. And I just got sick of that and ended up leaving because.
How long were you doing that for?
6 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
So it's not too long. I've always had this saying of the best thing I ever did was join the Navy. Second best thing I ever did was join the Navy. Best thing I ever did was leave.
Yeah.
It turned me from being a very innocent, naive, young 17-year-old kid living in Devonport. It was very, back then, before internet and all that sort of stuff, it was very, very sheltered life. Hadn't experienced life. There wasn't drugs around. There wasn't any evilness. Like, you never heard of anyone having their house broken into. The worst thing that happened was a punch on at the pub. Like, there wasn't shootings, there wasn't carjackings, there wasn't any crime, crazy. It wasn't any evilness, and then all of a sudden you're in Melbourne and it's chaos
at that time too.
And it's just like, wake up, this is what the world is. And that really sort of changed me as a person and made me grow into being the man that I became when I was younger. And then standing on my own 2 feet, getting away from mum and living at home was a really big thing, because I then had no safety net I had to fend for myself.
17's pretty early to be moving away too.
Oh, mum bawled her eyes out.
I can imagine. If I left at 17, I don't think my mum would have let me go.
I look back at photos thinking, I was a baby.
You went straight to Navy at 17?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're travelling around.
I was old enough to shoot the enemy, but I was not old enough to have a drink.
No.
Ridiculous.
But 100% going from here to the mainland. It's, especially Melbourne, bustling, busy ass city, where here you just see the same people all the time, and there's no. People here generally don't have ill will, but people over there,
it's comfortable for kids growing up here that they become young adults still living at home, and they get too comfortable just living there.
Over there, it's
regular everyday life.
Getting thrown in the deep end is. Well, it's good and bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's given you good and bad experiences.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. Well, you're here now, so. What did you do after?
So after I left the Navy, I did my mechanical apprenticeship. And then while I was doing my mechanical apprenticeship, I started a course. Funnily enough, I started a course doing airbrush art.
Okay.
I actually wanted to learn how to fix up cars and do touch-up paint.
Yeah, okay.
So I could buy a car and fix it up and then sell it and make money.
Yep, classic.
That went all out the door because I actually became really good at airbrushing. And then out of the blue, my teacher, an opportunity happened where a teacher of a region in Adelaide was leaving. So this was an Australia-wide company. And there was franchises. And the Adelaide teacher was leaving, and my teacher that I had put my hand up for me, so the owner of the company rang me and said, you're the first person I've called. Do you want to take the opportunity of being the teacher of owning Adelaide region?
Wow.
And it'll cost you X number of dollars. And this is a point that was a
How old were you here?
23 years old.
Yeah, okay, so pretty young still.
And this happened. My mum died at when I was 23.
Yeah.
She was only 57. Died of smoking. Quit it if you can, if you're doing it. Especially if you've got kids.
Sorry for the loss. It's a tough
all
age.
Good now. But this is the ultimatum I got.
Yeah.
You've got 2 days to get back to me because I need to fill this position and find someone.
Jesus.
My mum had died and we hadn't even buried it yet, and I got that phone call in the middle.
In the middle.
And I had 2 days to make
decide.
my mind up. The day that I had to make my mind up was the funeral.
Good Lord.
That was the final day. The day before, I rang up and went, I'm doing it.
You did it?
Yep. 8 years of airbrush teaching.
Wow.
Changed me.
All in Adelaide, the same place?
Yep. Yeah. Went over there and ran a school over there. So became self-employed and had part-time sort of jobs. It was night classes and weekends that they operated in because everyone else that did the course worked during the day. I just went, well, I was your age. Well, only, younger than you.
Yeah.
So I was 24 when I started, 25. And working as a mechanic over in Adelaide and running airbrush schools, and then ended up building that up to being a very successful sort of little business. But then the whole so that was while the sex spec car scene was in, so airbrushing was a really big thing.
Mid-2000s? Late 2000s?
Mid early sort of 2004 I would have started that. So it's 2004 till no, it would have been 2003 to 2010 I finished.
It was huge during the early 2000s.
Had a falling out with the owner of the business, and whole heap of stuff there that I don't need to bring up.
I'm sure.
But I've painted cars that have been in Street Machine and all sorts.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of people don't know that history of me, so there you go. Taught over 1,000 people how to airbrush. Had some.
And you were working as a mechanic and...
I was doing it for a couple of years, and then I became full-time just teaching airbrushing. Got it to the point that I could just survive off that and operate it.
Yeah, right.
But I was making pretty good money, but I was still, at that time, still blowing it and wasting
Still blowing it?
Yeah. Looking back, I wish I had invested in a house and did smart things with the money. But I still came from... So my mum dying at the young age she did changed me in a way of, I haven't got very long to live.
Yeah.
I feared I want to live my life.
Yeah.
I don't want
to have fun. I want to go and do stuff.
Yeah, so I did. I lived it up and did heaps of dumb shit.
Yep.
Don't regret it. I've got amazing memories of life.
Yeah.
Like I've got an amazing history of friends and
adventures and all sorts.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I did that, sold that, went and worked in the Gold Coast and...
Same thing, or?
No, worked for a bit of a stock market education company that tried to teach people how to day trade.
Okay, yeah.
That was a fucking rort.
Yeah.
They ended up getting taken by ASICs.
I've seen a few of them.
Yeah, they got taken down by ASICs and stuff just after I left.
You do not want to mess with ASIC.
Nah.
Trust me.
Yeah, there was people that were managers there that ended up living in Bali for a few years and all sorts that I was working for.
Yep.
Just to get away from it.
Really?
To get away from the heat.
So that was good?
Yeah.
Good experience I want not to do.
They paid ridiculous money, but like people were paying 20 grand for a course through this thing, and
big money.
Just losing money left, right, and centre. Like my phone calls, there'd be 20 phone calls a day of people crying on the phone because they've lost all their money.
And abusing you, yep. That sounds fun.
Lost life savings and shit, and it's like, it was hell. But yeah, that was only a couple of months, and then had a relationship breakup, and then came back to Tassie and was helping my old man out because his business partner passed away, and he was left by himself basically. So I came back and helped my dad run his scrap metal yard that's just over, only 2 blocks from here.
When was that?
That would have been 2011.
Oh, so you've been back here for a while.
Yeah.
Like you haven't gone away since?
No. Oh, well, no, that's a total lie.
Oh.
So, yeah, lived here, running that, ended up getting out of that and got back into being a mechanic for Michael Truscott at the Tyre Solution here in Devonport for a couple of years.
Yep.
And then got to the end of my tether of wanting to be a mechanic for a while, so quit there, and then me and my wife bought a motorhome and went travelling around Australia.
Nice.
And then we did 1 year, or close to 1 year, in old Winnebago, like 1983 Winnebago. It was a trooper of a car.
Full year?
Yeah, in that.
Yeah.
We came back. I already owned that, and I'm like, nah, I miss my car. Like, I'm a car guy through and through. Owned a drift car for years. I built a drift car in the scrapyard and all that sort of stuff.
You couldn't be away any longer.
And I'm like, I want my car. I need to drive it.
Yep.
Well, my wife, being the opportunist she is, came up with the idea of trying to find a vehicle we could travel in that could take that.
Ah.
So we bought a school bus that was converted for the Speedway to put a Speedway car at the back.
Ah.
And then it only had a single mattress bed that was over the top of the front of the car.
The car would take up a lot of room.
Well, the car takes up the whole back of the car, bus, the back half. So I got to work. We bought this bus from my stepbrother, actually. Thank you, Corey. We still live in it now.
Really?
Yeah, still live in it now. So I got to work
What a beast.
and converted the bed to a queen size bed, this area.
Yep.
And I measured the height of the car, so it came up and it literally missed the bonnet by 5 mil. Like, there was no room for
error
at all. Like, if I adjusted my coilovers up 5 mil, it would have scraped the bonnet. And I had video footage of coming in, and it's terrifying. It looks like it's just going to go and scrape
As
the
it's coming,
bonnet in under the bed.
Oh, how nervous were you the first time?
And the windscreen's this far from the back of the end of the queen bed to the wall.
So this far away.
It was like that far away from the windscreen, hitting where the front wheels dip into this.
At least you get to wake up and look
little
at it.
pockets. And I've taken that all over Australia.
I didn't. That's crazy.
Yeah, I've had that in Darwin, drag racing other Supras
Really?
on the street. Yeah, I've had that all
That's
over
cool
the whole
as.
country. So it's
Converting
like,
a bus to be able to carry that is
picture
crazy.
This is a really cool thing. It was in Queensland, and we're in the school bus, and we pull up, and you can just see the faces on all the backpackers that are in their little high aces and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, how many kids are going to pile out of this fucking this bus? And it's just me and the wife and a pair of cats, right? So we pull up, and then, all right, we need to get some food. So I open the back of the bus up. Like, cars noisy as hell.
Everyone around you like,
all
what
these
the?
people like coming over, having a look like,
Gee, that bus sounds good.
What is going on?
Has that bus got a 2J in it?
And then, back a bright blue Supra out the
If
back
I
of
ever
the,
saw a bright blue Supra back out of a bus,
it is a sight to see.
It would blow my mind.
Yeah. So,
that would have been hilarious.
Like, I've been places where you don't see anything but four-wheel drives.
Yeah, nothing
out
like
in the
that.
outback.
Yeah.
And then pull this out and go for
Middle
cruise.
of WA, that? Coming out of a bus?
Up all the way up north WA at Broome and stuff like that.
Yeah, middle of nowhere.
Yeah, going fanging around Broome in it. It was beautiful. It was best experience. So we actually lived on the road travelling for 3 years.
Gee, full 3 years?
Full 3 years.
Just all around?
Then COVID happened and we had to come back.
And you come back?
Yeah, so we decided we need to get to
So what's the story here?
We stopped in Queensland for a couple of months and worked, and that's where I started TikTok, working for a mechanic shop in Queensland. Called my account Pokey's Mechanical.
Yep.
And then we were saving to get married and go on a honeymoon, and we had this grand plan. We're going to go for seven weeks traveling around the world.
Nice.
And then we were going to go back to Queensland and keep working.
Yes.
And the boss said, "Yep, all right, I'll let you have that." He
I'll
was
allow it.
apprehensive, but he wasn't real keen on it, but they agreed to it.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool. And then COVID happened. I'm like, I've got to split and get back to Tassie because I've got an elderly dad.
Yeah.
If COVID hits him, he's probably going to kick
He's
the
in
bucket.
trouble. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to quit
And leave.
call it quits at this point, and then left. Ended up back down here, and then being the person I am, I like to work and make money.
You wanted to do something.
There was no jobs going because of people got laid off because of COVID.
Yes.
Like, no one really.
Wasn't the best time to be looking.
No. Well, there was a fair few mechanics looking for work, so it was a fairly tight market.
Yeah.
So I used my social media following at the time. I think it was about 40,000 people.
Yeah, nice.
To say I'm here with my couple of tools. I can do mobile servicing.
What do you need?
And I went and bought a ute and had a Falcon ute with a toolbox on the back.
Nice.
Filled that up with tools and bits and pieces. Did a bit of mobile work. Got a couple of jobs where I needed a hoist.
Yep.
And this shop was being used by a guy that wasn't using it, but it had a hoist in it, and he rented it to me for $15 an hour.
Nice.
So that was a bargain. I was like,
that is an
hour,
absolute
that is cheap.
steal for a hoist.
So I came in, started using the hoist. Next thing I know, I've got 5 or 6 cars here waiting for me day after day. And I'm like, look, dude, you're paying rent on this joint. You're just using it to store bits and pieces that don't really need to be here.
Yeah.
Can I take over the lease?
Yeah.
Pokey's Mechanical and Performance.
Next thing you know. And it's still,
and
you've still got 12 cars at the front.
More than that. 5 years later. So yeah.
Yeah, wow. COVID was.
And 5 years later, I get to work on a Lamborghini.
Is this the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I'm glad I brought it.
Done a couple of Porsches, but this is the first legitimate supercar.
Nice.
So yeah.
It's my
I
first one.
Test drive it too, which I'm very happy with. I am very grateful.
I'm glad.
You're the man that got me to be able to drive one of my dream cars. So thank you.
One of mine as well.
Yeah. It's a wild thing to drive.
Fun.
It's nice.
It sounds amazing.
It's so good.
We'll try. We'll get a sound clip or something.
I haven't.
I'll give it a few.
I because of the value of it, obviously.
Yeah.
I probably only took it to about 5,000 RPM. I haven't heard it past that. If I get the pleasure of having to go with you,
we'll do it after.
All right.
100%.
We better be quick.
Yeah.
I've
How long?
got about 10, 15 minutes, and I'm going to have to go. So
I'll wrap up my life.
Let's get on to the business.
So real quick, worked there for a couple of years at the doing the marketing. Mm-hmm. I also ended up doing sales. I kind of ended up doing a lot of stuff.
Right.
Then the boss said, "I've got a rental car company in New Zealand, in Christchurch. I want to sell a couple cars." Long story short, I flew over to New Zealand for 2 weeks. He had maybe 20 rental cars. I sold 11 of them in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And he went, "Holy shit, well done. I want you to stay in New Zealand, and I'm going to buy a bunch of cars, and I want you to sell them." So that business started with maybe 20 cars. Within 7 months, we had 100.
Cool.
And I was running the business pretty much. I was the manager of the business.
Yep.
So it was just me and the boss, and then we hired a fella called Josh, who was one of our customers. And then we hired a fella called Peter. And the reason I bring that up is because I'm actually in business with them in New Zealand now, which I'll get to. I was at the car dealership for 2 years, and it expanded rapidly.
Yep.
We stocked about almost 300 cars at one point. We grew massively. And this was 2017, 2018. I was there for 2 years. So I started right from the start, and I was there 2 years later. I did very well.
Just pause.
Yeah, you're
Sorry,
right.
just while
What is
that
that?
noise happens. So they've got the back shed.
They
Is
just
the
closed it.
landlord's property.
Yeah.
So landlord's next door.
Yeah.
And they have their yard joints.
Oh, it's
roll all
Friday.
there.
I thought it was Saturday.
Yeah, no,
It
Friday.
feels like Saturday.
Before we continue on,
Yes.
Is there an opportunity that you could hang around? I'm only going for the massage for an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll be back. Or do you have to go somewhere? Is there a chance you could just hang out in Devonport for a bit and then?
Honestly, yeah.
keep going?
I've missed about 5 phone calls, so I can just work on my phone.
I'm happy to fucking leave you here if you want to, and you can use the net on the computer and whatever if you need to.
I mean, I haven't eaten, so I'll go and eat.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll go to Macca's and I'll do some work.
Go and eat something better than McDonald's.
Well, I'll go somewhere. I don't know where anything is yet. I don't know where anything is yet. I'll go get something.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Because this is going really well, and I feel like there's your business can benefit from this as well as my podcast.
I agree. I like talking about this.
I don't want to rush the important part of it.
Well, the New
There's
Zealand
probably
stuff's pretty
another hour's
important.
worth of information coming here.
Yeah.
Not 15 minutes, especially if we're going to go for a drive.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Would you want to go for a drive now, or do you want to?
We'll do that when I come back. I reckon.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
I'm in no rush. I've got nowhere to be.
I've got 15 minutes before I have to leave, so we'll keep going until I need to leave.
Do you want me to go back and go a bit through that a little bit more?
Yeah,
Because there's a lot to
We'll
do.
just do the New Zealand. We'll go over the New Zealand business for 15 minutes in detail.
Yep.
Of what that is.
Yep.
And then we'll pick it up from there after.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right, cool.
Excellent.
Sweet.
Yeah. So worked at the dealership for somebody else for 2 years. Then that's where I met Josh and Peter.
Yep.
I then moved. I got homesick and I got burnt out. I worked long hours, 7 days a week, most weeks. I probably worked there was a time where I worked 5 months straight, I think. I didn't get a single day off.
Yep.
That was partly because I was okay doing that. Fucking hell. What a stitch up.
The joys of working in an industrial area.
Yeah.
Not having a nice YouTube studio.
I'm in an industrial area too in Melbourne, and it's just this all day.
Yeah.
There's 12 warehouses where I am.
Yeah. Oh, you'd have joy trying to do your bloody videos.
Oh, mate. There's a guy there who's he runs an Asian grocery. Really nice guy. His name's Lee, and he constantly has trucks arriving, and the door is just all day, all day.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Yeah.
Right, let's keep going. Sorry.
Keep going. So, I got burnt out. So I came back to Tassie, and I came back to Tassie in mid 2019. So just kind of before COVID was early 2020. I came back here. I probably had $60,000 in the bank at the time. I had a property. I sold my property when I came back.
You would have only been 23-ish then?
I was
2019?
24. What am I now? I'm 29. So it was 7 years ago. So yeah, 23.
Yep.
22, 23-ish.
With 60 grand, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's ambitious.
I'd worked very hard and I'd saved almost all of my money.
Yep.
I had a property that I had built when I was at the house company, which I sold early 2020, and I made about 60 grand from that as well. So when I sold that, I probably had $120,000 in the bank. So I came back and I just took 6 months off, and I needed it.
Yep.
I literally didn't do anything for 6 months. I probably burnt through $15,000.
Did you own one of your Supras then?
This is just before I bought it.
Right.
So 2019, I probably burnt through $15,000 just kind of paying bills and living.
Yep.
Had 45 grand left. I sold the house just before COVID, early 2020. The house prices had already risen. I wish I'd waited a bit longer, but sold that, had about 110-ish grand. I went and bought a Supra, manual NA, and spent 50 grand on that, turning it into a 700 horsepower fucking beast. Once that was done, I had about $20,000 left in the bank. And I went, right, I probably need to do something. So I became a finance broker when I had those 6 months off. Got fully qualified, all of that. Started a business. Did okay for the first couple of months, but wasn't loving it. Because
How does someone become a finance broker?
you have to do a course and get a certificate for.
Who do you do the course through?
I did it through AAMC.
Is it an online thing?
Just
or?
online.
Yep.
But it's...
Only because people would be curious of that.
Yeah, it normally
A
takes...
lot of young people don't even know to look it up.
Very true, very true. Yeah, I did it online.
Yep.
Normally takes about a year. I got it done in 6 months. Absolutely smashed through it. I wrote a lot of loans in New Zealand. So I was pretty much already qualified,
Right,
but you have to do it again here. When I was at the dealership, I did finance and marketing and sales. So I already had experience with finance and everything. Did it in 6 months. Became a finance broker. I started a business called Prestige Car Finance. And after 2 months, it wasn't going as well as I thought it would. So I went back to Harvey Norman. So I was still a qualified finance broker, but I pretty much just stopped doing it. I wrote a couple of loans, made about $2 grand, but $2 grand a month is not enough to live. My bank balance was just going down and down. So I went back to Harvey Norman, and I went back casual as well, and I was casual plus commission again, and I was doing quite well when I was back at Harvey Norman. I did that so January 2020, COVID hit March 2020. We started locking down in Burnie June-ish, late April. So I was there for 6 months. COVID hit in June. I saved pretty much all my money because I didn't do anything for those 6 months. But I still maybe only had $20,000 and lots of bills, and COVID hit. So obviously we had to isolate in Burnie. We fully locked down for 4 weeks. Then we had 2 weeks more of lockdown straight after. So there was 6 weeks where we were shut in. And during those 6 weeks, New Zealand wasn't as affected by COVID at the time. And I made a call to Peter, who I'd worked with at the car dealership in New Zealand. I said, mate, why are we not selling cars? He had left the dealership by that point. I said, mate, we were really good. Why do we not do our own thing? He went, yeah, not a bad idea. So we went and bought. So I handled all the marketing because I was still in Tassie. So, trained, of course. So I handled all the marketing.
That'll be far enough away, don't pick it up too much.
Okay, hopefully. I did all the marketing, and Peter was on the ground in Christchurch. So I set up the Facebook page, the Instagram page, everything.
Yep.
Set up the Google business, all of it. He was on the ground. We went and bought a Toyota Hilux Surf for $5,000, and we sold it within 3 days for $9,000.
Wow.
So what Peter would do is I would find the cars on Marketplace. He would go and look at them and make an offer and buy them.
Yep.
He would take photos, he would send them to me, and I would run an ad on Facebook targeted to Christchurch and targeted New Zealand wide, offering that car on finance. So I built a website, something I just learned on YouTube, pretty basic website, bit of info about what we do, the cars for sale, and a form. Nothing fancy.
Yep.
The ad was a photo of the car.
Just their information.
Yeah, name, number, email.
Yep.
I ran the ad, just an image of the car. They click on it, go to the website, fill the form in. That goes to Peter in New Zealand. Peter calls them, tries to get some finance. And we sold it within 3 days. Then we took that $9,000, we went and bought another one, made $6,000 on that. Then we had 15. Then we went and bought another one. Then we bought 2. Then we bought 4. We thought, right, we're pretty busy here. Things are going well. And this was during COVID in New Zealand, but we were buying cars just before COVID had affected the prices.
Right.
So the timing actually worked out fairly well because the cars that we had bought, when COVID hit and everything locked down, prices started to skyrocket. So we actually ended up making a bit of extra money, maybe $2,000 extra per car. Once we got to 4 cars, we went, right, we're pretty busy. Peter was working full time. I wasn't working because we were locked down. I had gone back to Harvey Norman. So I was working, Peter was working, we were just doing it on the side. But I was making pretty good money, we were making $5,000 per car. And we were doing a car a week.
Yep.
So we're making $20,000 a month. So we thought, right, then we called Josh. Josh was who we both worked with he was the first person we employed when I was at the dealership in New Zealand. We called Josh, he was still there. He left and came to work with us.
Yep.
And the business just exploded. We were storing cars at Josh's house in his backyard. And then 3 months later, we had 20 cars.
Yep.
Being stored at Peter's and Josh's. 3 months later, we had a yard.
So you didn't actually have a yard or a place that you were paying rent on? So
and
low overheads, that's good.
Well, very low overheads. And we were making pretty good money.
Yep.
We were just keeping it all in the business at the time. Most of it was going to ads. Every single car we sold was ads that I ran. The business would not have worked without the ads.
Yep.
Because especially when you're a backyard dealer, you don't want people going to your house either.
No.
So we had to sell them online. So we sold them all through Facebook ads, most of them on finance, so we got commissions from that as well. They were doing all of the groundwork, so they were finding the cars, buying the cars, they were sending me the photos, I was running all the ads, and I was handling all the social media.
Yep.
We grew very quickly. Within, I think, 9 months, we'd already got a yard, and we had 100 cars.
Wow.
But we made the fatal mistake of having too much success. We grew way too fast.
Yep.
We didn't actually realise we were losing money. We thought things were going very well, but they weren't.
Yep.
So we were making very good money, but we had cash flow issues.
Right.
Cash flow, if you don't know what cash flow is, Google it and learn everything you can about it, because that is why businesses fail. Businesses only fail in the first 2 years because of cash flow. And that is something I've learned and I know everything about now. And it taught me that. We thought things were going amazing. After about a year and a half, we'd been in the yard for 6 months. We were all getting paid very well. We thought that we should be getting paid very well because the business was making so much money. We got 200, 300 grand in the bank. Yep. We're buying cars from Japan. We were selling 15 to 30 cars a month. What we didn't realise was the repair bills were adding up. The maintenance bills were adding up. When you buy cars from Japan, you don't have to pay for the shipping and GST and taxes for 2 months.
Oh, right.
So if we've got 60 cars arriving and we haven't calculated the amount of tax and everything that we're going to get hit with in 2 months, and a big repair bill comes up, and we were 24, 25, none of us had owned a business before. We were very good at what we were doing. I was very good at marketing. Josh is incredible at selling. And Peter was amazing at all the back end stuff, and Peter was also good at selling. But we were not businessmen. We hadn't run a business before. And we were just looking at the bank going, we're making good money, not realizing that, oh no, if you pay yourself this much, in 3 months, you're actually not going to have enough to pay the taxes on the cars you've just bought in.
Yep.
And then we're like, oh shit, so now we have to sell more cars. So now we have to spend more on marketing. And it's a snowball effect.
Yep.
So for 6 months, we thought we were doing amazing. And then about 4 months later, we finally got our accounting done, and the accountant went, boys, you are not doing as well as you think you are.
Yep.
And we went, okay, right. And then everything just went downhill.
Yep.
We didn't realise we'd gotten so far behind that we had to pull back completely.
Yep.
We had 150-ish cars, I think, at one point almost. We had to pull back, and we were all getting paid, a lot of money. And we had to pull back from 150 to 100, then to 80, then to 60. Now we've got 12.
Right.
So that business has just been on the decline ever since. And the only reason...
Do you think it'll recover? Tried it?
I don't have anything to do with it anymore.
Right, okay.
I own shares in it, but that's
Yep.
it. I haven't been involved for years
stuff,
now,
yep.
since I started my business in Australia.
Yep.
It could definitely recover, but that's a story for me to have with the boys.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or a conversation to have with the boys. But it taught me a very valuable lesson. We grew very fast, and we didn't actually understand how cash flow worked.
Yep.
How you need to adjust for bills, all of these things. And we grew like this, and we went straight back down.
Yep.
So a year and a half at the top, and then a year and a half later at the bottom. And we just had to keep downsizing because, as I'm sure you know, during COVID and after COVID, car prices boomed. We had 50 cars on the way from Japan with, say, 6 grand margins in them. Those 6 grand margins became 10 grand margins.
Yep.
We made a fucking shitload of money within maybe 6 months. And then the car bubble collapsed and we had 150 cars.
And everyone ran out of money.
Correct.
Yep.
And no one could get loans.
Yep.
And COVID hit New Zealand.
Banks stopped loaning money too, yeah.
COVID in New Zealand, similar actually to what happened in Tassie. 2020, we all locked down, same with them. They had to lock down multiple times in 2021 because it came back.
Yep.
And then that's when the banks stopped lending money. So in late 2021, car prices, the bubble collapsed. Late 21, early 22.
Yep.
Car prices and we had 150 cars in stock. So we went from making 10 grand during COVID prices to breaking even.
Yep.
But we had 60 cars on the way. In 3 months, we got $100,000 worth of bills coming out that we had accounted for if we kept going how we were. And we just didn't plan for the future well enough. And we didn't understand at the time how business works well enough.
Yep.
And how cash flow works.
How quickly it can collapse when you...
And it all changed very quickly.
Yep.
We had been paying ourselves well for 6 months, and then none of us were getting paid anything.
Yep. What's the time? I'm gonna have to pause it there.
Yeah, no, that's
Sorry.
fine. No, we'll keep going later.
Hopefully this is still fucking recording.
Yeah, your phone hasn't died, has it?
No, hour and 27 minutes.
Fuck, you're gonna have some editing to do.
Yeah, should be able to. That should be fine.
Yeah, cool. Because I want to have a play around with it.
Yep. What I've found just might be easier.
Yeah.
Is just physically give it to you on a stick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better. That's perfect. Because I want to give it to my video editor, and I want him to cook up some cool shit. Because a lot of stuff we've spoken about is. Have you seen my ads?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do
just,
a lot.
talking about your like importing and stuff.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's hook.
Yep.
Info. Where do you go?
Yeah.
Call me, whatever.
Yeah. We can help.
But
you
the stuff that we've spoken about, I can't speak about really in ads.
No.
But I can run ads on what we've spoken about.
Yeah.
Like for example, But
the I guess what we've gone through, and this can be used in part of this video as well, is it's organic marketing. Love you. Bye.
Yes.
It's organic marketing that people will watch a short minute or 2 minutes or whatever.
Correct.
And then that'll go, oh, I'll follow that guy. That gets people's interest in you as a person, not what your brand is.
Correct.
And that gives you more. Yeah, and it gives you more credibility of people getting to know you.
Yeah.
And this guy's not just a big corporation that's here to fleece me of all my money and make a fortune.
They only care about the money.
He's just a guy that's having a crack. Yeah. I want to have a go and try and support him. So
that's why they come to you.
Yeah, that's it.
It's interesting. There is no in this industry. There is no that because there's no 50 employee car importer.
No.
There's the biggest.
But there is the dealerships that are.
They also offer that service as well. You're right.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah. But they're like, you're
right. It's
when you buy a car from there, you're paying for all those staff that are in those offices in the front of it. You're paying for the cleaners. You're paying for all this.
Franchise.
The rent on the property.
Paying their marketing, all of it.
Yeah, nothing against it. Like, it's a good business model, and I envy those that have been able to manage to operate a business that's that big and make it success. Because that obviously comes with its rewards. Look at the
huge rewards.
The owner of one of the dealerships here flies from dealership to dealership in his helicopter,
which is not a bad way to get around. I don't know if it beats that, but it's definitely good. But you're right. It's
if you've got that, you've got one of them too.
Well, you've got 10 of them.
Yeah.
That's the daily. That's
it.
The weekend car is the fucking Speciale or something.
Yeah, he probably looks at that and goes, I don't want something that old.
It's funny, someone did say that to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Some guy today, actually, about an hour ago. Because mine, that's for sale. It's on my website. I don't really want to sell it, but because we can only import the 04 to 06 Gallardos.
Yeah.
So we can't import the 07s, or definitely not anything newer.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about importing Lambos. I was like, we can import the 04 to 06s only. He's like, man, I don't want something that old. I want something new. I said, all right, well, unfortunately, that's all we can import. There's no way around it. So you got to import something older if you want a Gallardo or a Lamborghini. So unless you got money for an STO, which is $1.1 million for the car alone, once it gets here, $3 million after taxes. Unless you got that kind of money, then there aren't any other options. He said, well, I haven't got that much. I said, well, we're stuck in the middle.
Yeah, it's either this or you go to Lambo and buy a top of the line, whatever.
And you pay out the arse because franchise dealer.
Yep.
They can mark them up by 200 grand.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But no.
Right. So where we left off, I had a massage booked today, and I thought we were going to get it done quicker than what we did.
We just kept yapping.
This man's got a big story, so let's hear all of it. I said, have you got time to hang around and wait?
Yep.
And he's like, Mum's cooking a roast lamb tonight, so we've got to hurry up. So you've pretty much finished the story about the business in New Zealand, how it went up and it went down.
Yep.
And then you've gone. You said you've got the next stage of that story. We'll go from there.
Yeah. So business in New Zealand up down. About 2021, when things were going pretty well. Just a real quick personal story. When things were going really well, I think it was late 2021. Can't quite remember, but I randomly woke up one morning and I could feel my heart beating, and thought I was having a heart attack. Anyway, I went to the ER and they were like, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. So they sent me home. And then the next day I drove from Burnie to Launceston to play soccer. And at half time I went in, so I played the first half. At half time I went in and I sat down and I could feel my heart beating again. And because I just played a half of soccer, my heart was already racing.
Yeah.
And I like passed out for a second and woke up. But anyway, I was like, right, probably wasn't good. So I had some water, went back out. I lasted about 5 more minutes on the field. I was like, I got a headache, I don't feel well. So I stayed till after the game, supported the boys, and then I went to the hospital in Launceston. I was staying with a mate that night. And went in, did some checks, and they said, you're all good. There's nothing wrong with you. So they sent me home again. Anyway, on my way home, driving, I had the same thing. I started to feel my heart again. It started racing, going crazy. So I pulled over and thought I was going to die. It was awful. Once I finally got back to Burnie, because there wasn't anything I could do while I was driving, went to the hospital again. This is all within a week. And they're like, there's nothing wrong with you, you're fine. They, give me the ECG, whatever, check all my vitals. They said, you're fine. So then I go to the doctor, I'm like, this is happening. And they're like, oh, we'll do a few tests. And then the next 2 weeks while we're waiting for the test, every single day, I'm heart racing, can't walk upstairs without losing my shit. Anyway, doctor did all the tests. You're perfectly healthy. Everything is perfect. Had a big episode that day, actually, after I left the doctor's office. Went to hospital again, so this is 7 times in 2 weeks. And once again, they're like, there's nothing wrong with you, you're fine. And one of the nurses there goes, do you have anxiety issues? I said, no. She's like, has anything happened recently that could maybe have triggered this or something? I was like, no, nothing. And nothing had really changed. She goes, it sounds like you're having panic attacks. I went, okay. I've never had them before. She said, well, you've been in here 7 times in the last 2 weeks and, you're a fit, young, healthy guy. You're not doing drugs, you're not smoking, you drink on weekends, but it's nothing crazy. You're fit and healthy, your heart is perfect, your bloods are perfect. You shouldn't be here, is essentially what she said. And I hadn't thought about that. So I went home and it happened again, 2 hours later, and I went back to ER. And she was still there, obviously. And they did the tests again, which by this point they know there's nothing wrong with me.
They feel like they're wasting their time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I didn't know at the time.
Yep. I
know now, but she was still there. She said, "You back again?" I went, "Yep." And she goes, "Same thing?" I said, "Yep." She goes, and the problem was my heart rate was getting to 190s, high 190s.
Right. That's sprinting levels.
My max in 2021 was, I think, 198, 197.
Right.
Because you go 220 and just minus your age. And you don't want to get above that. But what was happening was I was sitting here, as you and I are speaking, and my heart's going 190, wanting to burst out of my chest. And this was happening 6 or 7 times a day. No trigger, just sitting there working, because I was helping run the New Zealand business at this stage, and things were going well. I would just be sitting there doing an ad, and the next thing you know, I've got to go and get my cat, pick it up, put it on my chest, and lay in front of a fan. Otherwise, I'm going to go insane. So she brought up the panic attack stuff. I went back to the doctor, and this is 2021. So COVID had kind of come and gone. It was still lingering, particularly at the hospital. But during that time, a lot of people needed mental health. They needed to go and see psychologists, psychiatrists, etc. So I went to the doctor and he said, yep, let's get you into a psychologist. 4 months I had to wait.
Yep.
And
it's ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. And I had a doctor at the time that I was going to who is a great doctor for physical health, but mental not so much. And I had never dealt with any mental health issues ever. And I still didn't know what was going on. And one day I was in the doctor's office I think I went to ER 44 times in 2 months.
Yep.
And I went to the doctor's office pretty much daily. They were getting sick of me. But I was in the doctor's office one day and I was in there sitting, waiting, and my heart was going absolutely ballistic. I was just sitting there waiting to go in and see the doctor. And I get in, and they start taking my blood pressure, and they're like, okay, we need you to lay down and relax, which sent me in a fucking spiral, because I was like, oh, there's something wrong.
Yep.
They went and laid me down, because while I was having an attack, they wanted to get an ECG on me. So I went and laid down, this was at Burnie Medical, and they put all the things on me, and the blood pressure thing, and my blood pressure was 220 something, over some fucking absurd number, 145 or something stupid.
Right.
The blood pressure when you're about to have a stroke.
Yep.
My arteries are like...
Yeah, right.
So she said, Dyson, I'm going to grab some water. Do you have a song that might help calm you down? And I played my favourite song, which is Hallelujah, the Shrek version. Rufus Wainwright. It's my favourite song of all time.
Right.
So I played that, and she went and got me some water. And for 5 minutes, my heart was at 197 and my blood pressure was through the roof. And I was dizzy, I was numb. It was awful. Anyway, I played the music, and after about 5 minutes, I started to come down a bit. And she kind of left it for another 5 minutes, and we just kind of sat there and listened to some music. And then after my heart rate was back down about 100, she's like, okay, we need to get you some help. Because if this happens, because you're young and healthy, it's good. If you were a 55-year-old man, you'd probably be dead, because that blood pressure and heart rate, it's not sustainable, particularly not for longer than 5 minutes.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, that's not good. So at this stage, I'm probably 2.5, 3 months in. I can't work, I can't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't go for a walk.
I don't mean to cut you off on your story, but
please.
the question I have, I guess, is, are you, at this point, are you thinking about things in life, in business, problems,
Nope.
stressful things? It's just literally a chemical imbalance.
Genuinely, yep.
So mind's free of worry.
Nothing happened.
That's hard to...
It was hell.
Yeah,
It was genuine hell.
That's hard to know how to work through that.
Nobody knew how to help me.
No.
Doctors said, you're fucking healthy. Stop coming in. You're a peak male fitness. You're 27. Go away.
Yep.
And I finally got into the psychologist, and he said, I did 4 sessions, I think. And by the 4th session, he said, you know, like, there's nothing I can do for you. You don't have any, you know, there's no family trauma. There's nothing had happened recently. There was no explanation. After 6 months of going through it, and it was hell. I couldn't do anything. You'd have to talk to my mum. I had to live at home. I genuinely couldn't function. It was hell. Eventually, my doctor gave me propanolol, which all it does is it just stops adrenaline.
Right.
And they checked my thyroid and everything, and there was no issues with that, which is normally what would happen when you get too many adrenaline rushes. But what was happening was I'm hypersensitive of my heartbeat. I don't know why, but I can feel it often.
Yep.
And I'll just be sitting there and I'll feel it. And what was happening was I was feeling it, and then I was thinking about it.
And then that's amplifying it.
And then it's getting faster, so now I'm thinking about it more. And now I've got to stand up, which raises it again. And now it's not slowing down, so I'm still thinking about it, which is causing it to increase. Now the adrenaline's kicked in because it thinks I'm in a life or death situation. So now my heartbeat's going 180 and I'm just sitting there doing nothing and feeling every single beat. And it drives you insane because you can feel it in your head. It's like you've got a real bad headache. And this was happening 6 times a day. There was maybe 2 hours every day where it wouldn't happen. And eventually I got given propanolol, and it literally fixed it that day. And no one can tell me. I've gone and done all the tests again. No one can tell me what it was. If I stop taking the propanolol, it comes back. Which to me says definitely part of it was mental. It has to have been. But I'm taking a drug that fixes it, that slows adrenaline and slows your heart rate, and it's literally fixed it that day. And I've been on it ever since.
Yep.
And as soon as I come off it, it comes back.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's a mental thing or not, but I've seen psychologists here and in Melbourne. None of them can explain it. I went and saw a heart doctor in Launceston and did all the stress tests and everything, the POTS tests, all that. Once again, he said, mate, you are perfectly healthy. Like you shouldn't be in here. And
it's lucky that you did find it, because that would be crippling to your life.
I had 2 more months in me, and then I would have called it quits. Swear to God.
Really?
It was
that bad?
Fucking hell.
I'm going to fix your mic before we continue.
Is it?
No, you're right. It's just inside your shirt instead of outside.
Oh, sorry.
You're right. I only just noticed. I should have picked up on it before.
Hopefully you can still hear
No,
me.
that's all right. It'll be able to hear it. It's just, if it's against your skin, sometimes you hear
When
as you're moving. Yeah. That's all right.
Hopefully it didn't do that. Yeah, so
sorry if the audio is bad.
Yeah, so apologies. Sorry for my sap story. So yeah, I had 2 more months left in me.
Yep.
I literally couldn't walk from the front door to the mailbox without having a full-blown panic attack.
Wow.
And the panic attacks were serious. Like, it was, without my mum and my stepdad, and they're not great. Mum particularly is no good with mental health stuff. She just wanted me to get over it. She was still very supportive, but by month 4, it affects everybody.
It is hard.
By month 4, she's like, "This is ridiculous." Like,
Yep.
She doesn't blame me. She's just like, "We need to figure this out. Like, I'm over it." I had to keep going down to the lounge and laying on the floor just so they would talk to me, so I could relax. Every 2 hours.
Yeah.
3 a.m, I'm waking up, having a full-blown panic attack, calling Beyond Blue just so I could talk to somebody.
Yep.
And it was genuine, a living hell. I didn't do anything for 6 months. I think I left the house twice.
Wow.
It was fucking bad. And then, like I said, I literally started taking propanolol. Haven't had a problem since.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you've been able to find that.
Me too.
Yeah.
But that happened just before this Prestige car pause.
Yep.
Literally got better. The New Zealand business was going down, and I had a lot more free time.
Yep.
Because all I did was work to do stuff for the New Zealand business. So I had all this free time now because the business had, especially while I was sick and struggling, I wasn't working.
Yep.
So the business, kept getting smaller and smaller. So by the time I was better, there was nothing to do. So I thought, right, well, it's been 1.5 years now I've been self-employed with the New Zealand business, maybe a little bit longer. I thought, I can't go back to Harvey Norman. I can't work for somebody else again. And it just so happened that around this time, I had looked into, so the business in New Zealand, we import cars from Japan.
Yep.
And I knew a bunch of contacts in Japan, and I had already dealt with the entire process in New Zealand, which is a similar process in Australia. It's a lot harder in Australia to import cars, but the shipping and the Japan side stuff is the same. It's just once it gets here, it's all different.
Yep.
And logistics and paperwork wise. And I thought, right, well, I've got all this knowledge that other people don't have. I want to import my own car from Japan. So I said to, because I already had the contacts in Japan, I said to Daniel from Nikio and now Gateway, who's my agent in Japan, I said, mate, I want to bring a car into Australia. I haven't done it before. Have you sent any to Australia? He said, no. I said, right, I did a bunch of research. 6 months, I think it took me to figure everything out. What you can and can't do.
It's complicated.
What can and can't be imported.
I've started, but I don't have the time to invest into trying to work it out. So
it's absurd. And there is such a long list of things you can and can't do.
Yep.
And if you mess one of those things up, the car could sit at the port and never come in. And you're just paying daily charges every day. Or they send it back to Japan.
Wow.
So if you miss one step up, if you don't get the correct import approval, if you don't get import approval in time, a lot of different steps. So I spent about 6 months learning, and I was like, okay, I think I understand everything. I spoke to Top Secret, Gary, shout out to Gary and Jack in New South Wales. They helped me a lot early, and they didn't even know who I was, and they're a big compliance company. They helped me a lot figure it all out, because you may be able to import a car, but it may not be able to get complied. So it can go through border and customs and to your house.
And then you can't get it registered.
But you can't get it on the road.
Yep.
And it might be on the list, but you wouldn't know that, because the government and the online resources that you're given as just a person who wants to import are very lackluster.
Yep.
And half of them are outdated. They're not even relevant anymore.
Right.
So I spoke to people in this industry who helped me a lot, and I looked into using a broker. And at that time, there were only really two main ones, which was Iron Chef and J-Spec. And I thought, right, well, I've already done it. I want to do it myself. So at that time, it just so happened that a mate I used to play cricket with, Chris, he was in Adelaide and he wanted to import an RX-7. And he knew I had the business in New Zealand. He's like, Dyson, could you help me get one? I was like, mate, good timing. I'm going to import a car as well. I'll get you one as well. So we went to auction, bought the cars. And this was the first one I'd ever done for...
So did you have to go to Japan, or you just used your contact there?
Yep. Yeah. So they go and inspect the car in person.
Yep.
Send me all the report and everything. I let them know what I want looked at. They go and inspect it, send me everything, and then we bid if we want to. If we don't want to bid, we just keep going and on the next car and the next car. So this was the first time I'd ever done it in Australia, and I was doing two cars, so I was taking a bit of a risk. And Chris, shout out to Chris, thank you for the faith at the start. He was willing to take the risk with me, and I had all of the knowledge, but I hadn't done it, and you just don't know how it's going to go.
Exactly what we were saying before.
And you just don't know how it's going to go.
You don't know if you
don't know
can do
anything.
it. No,
you
that's
really
right.
don't. So I did it, and there was no hiccups. Car got here, got complied. After we bought the cars at auction, I was thinking, hold on a second. Chris trusted me to help him bring in his car. We've just bought it from auction. I've brought my own one in. I understand all the rules now.
So had they landed by this stage, you think?
Not by this stage. We just bought them.
Right. So they hadn't left Japan yet.
Hadn't left Japan yet. It was only maybe a week after we bought the cars.
Yep.
And I'd done the import approvals. I'd organised all the shipping, all the transport in Japan to the port, all the documents, everything. And I thought, hold on a second. This is stuff that you don't know unless you do all the research. Chris trusted me to do it. Things have gone well so far. I think other people might be interested in this as a service.
Yep.
So I thought, right, well, I've got Prestige Car Finance in New Zealand with my two business partners. I like the name Prestige. I don't know why, I just always have. And I thought, right, Prestige Car Imports. Literally all I did was made a Facebook page. So I'd already got all the knowledge, which is the hard part. I'd already bought a couple cars. I knew kind of the whole process. I just made a Facebook page, Prestige Car Imports, and because I have very good experience running ads, and I'd run car ads for the last 5 or 6 years, so I knew them inside and out. I just created an ad, not even a video, just an image. It was me on my black Supra, just sitting on it, and it just said, are you interested in importing a car from Japan? You can save on the market price in Australia. That was it. Spent $10 a day for 7 days. I had 2 clients in the first week.
Sick.
And I went, right, I think I'm onto something here.
Yep.
That was when, and you might know the video, June 2023. So I started the business in March 2023.
Right.
I helped Chris, I think, in March or in April. That's when we bought those cars, one for me and one for him. And then I recorded, I experimented with a few other things, and after a month, I probably had signed up 5 customers.
Yep.
I thought, right, okay, I'm spending $10 a day. I need to take this serious. I think there could be something here. So I went and recorded a video, which is the video of me in the multi-story car park with all the JDM cars.
Yep.
Luckily, there's a good JDM scene in the Northwest Coast. Not many people, but plenty of Jap cars.
I remember you putting the post up in the group.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, mine was off the road. I couldn't bring it up.
Yes, that's right. Because I asked everybody.
Yeah,
and we got some really good cars there, and that ad went viral.
Sick.
It's got over 1 million views now, I think.
Yep.
It just went insane. So recorded that, and at that point, I was only doing cars in Japan because it was the only thing I kind of knew how to do.
Did you ramp up how much you were spending on ads?
Yeah, I absolutely went crazy.
Yeah.
I
All in.
I used the money that I'd made from, maybe I'd signed up 10 clients by this time.
Yep.
So maybe 2 clients a month, which is only $2,400 a month, right? So it's not that much money, but at the time I wasn't earning anything. So it was better than what I was doing.
Yep.
And I thought, right, well, I think I can really scale this hard because almost every person who's calling me is going ahead if they have the budget. It's not like I was getting 30 phone calls. I was maybe getting 3 or 4 a day. But 2 people every month, if they had the budget, were signing up.
Yep.
They were giving me the fee and we were searching. So I thought, right, well, I'd never shot a video before. That was the first video I ever shot.
Did well.
I'd never shot a video before, but I thought this is just, I need to do this. I think it could really go. We recorded that. After I posted that, the phone just didn't stop ringing. And ever since then, it's just grown and grown and grown. Back then, I only did cars from Japan. And I maybe, went from signing 2 clients up to, a client every 3 days, just for Japan.
Yep.
And back in 2023, even now there's a lot of copycats, we can get onto that, but back in 2023, nobody was doing this. As in, there were import brokers and people who would import your car for you, but none of them were running ads, not like what I had done.
Yep. Yep.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, because a lot of people, I assume, thought that giving all of this information away would be detrimental, but it's not. There's room for people to import and people to go and buy it at a dealer.
Oh, yeah.
You don't lose any market share. So I was just giving this information to people.
Once you've developed your credibility of being able to do it,
Yes.
there's I couldn't be bothered going through and learning it all.
Yeah.
I don't have the time, but if I wanted a car, I know I'm going to come and see you because I've seen you doing it.
Yeah.
But that gives you the credibility to be able to be trusted.
Yes.
Where I'd be terrified I'm going to lose my 25 grand or 30 grand or whatever you're going to throw into it. And then where I'm at.
That's the biggest thing.
If I give that money to you, I'm guaranteed I'm getting a car.
Yeah. And at the start, that was the biggest hurdle.
Yep.
The first 6 months, so I started in March, I recorded the video in June. After the video went live, I started getting phone call after phone call. But I only had a couple of reviews. I had a website, but I didn't have a location. I had a couple of reviews, had a couple of Google reviews, but 2 reviews is not very convincing when someone's about to give you 50 grand.
Yeah.
So what came in very handy early was my ability to talk to people.
Yep.
And get them to trust me.
Yep.
Because particularly in the last, I would say probably post-COVID, even during COVID, I think maybe 2020 onwards, the rate of scams skyrocketed.
Oh.
During COVID, it was absurd. Marketplace scams, all kinds of scams.
They're still going on, but
it's rampant still.
For between 2020 to 2023, oh my God, the crap phone calls we got here.
Everything. Oh, mate.
Oh, how many bloody solar panels do you think I want to buy?
Yeah, every second Facebook Marketplace listing was a scam. All the cars were scams.
Yeah.
They all talked the same. And what helped me was they were picking up the phone and calling. So they were clearly interested.
Yep.
All I had to do was not fuck it up.
Yep.
But when it's somebody's, if someone has 60 grand and they're about to give you 50, they really got to trust you.
Yeah.
And now I don't have that issue at all. People send me hundreds of thousands of dollars so I can help them buy a car.
Yeah.
Back then it was hard to get 10 grand to buy a Toyota Crown because,
Yep.
oh mate, it's not that I don't trust you. I do trust you. You seem like a nice guy. It's just a lot of money. I don't really, and I had to really early, even probably after a year. That's everyone's main concern. Yep, I know you've got 15 reviews now, but this is all my money. It's so hard to let go of it.
Oh yeah.
So that
So it
process,
takes years to save that for a lot of people.
and a car
For
is
most
a
people.
luxury item. You don't save up to buy a piece of crap. You want to buy a good car.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was easily the biggest hurdle. So luckily, my experience in sales, and particularly when I was at the dealership in New Zealand, getting phone calls from angry customers because something went wrong with their car, it builds a bit of resistance and a bit of grit, and it teaches you, like we were saying before, you've got to do it before you can be good at it.
Yep.
And before you really know everything. And when I was in New Zealand, I had customers threaten to kill me and all kinds of things for things that were completely out of my control. As I'm sure mechanics deal with just as much. And it's a nightmare.
Well, yeah, like we're dealing with, in most cases, we're dealing with a person's most expensive possession.
Exactly.
Like if they don't own a home, their car is their most valuable asset, and it's not really an asset.
And they care a lot about it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. And you get some people that don't fully understand what's going on, thinking you're ripping them off,
Yes.
and that's a big hurdle in my industry, is trying to convince people you're being honest and real.
Yes.
So I keep a lot of parts to show people who are going, your brake pads were that low.
Yeah.
And it then builds trust and they come back.
Correct. And the thing is, when I was at the dealership, dealing with that a lot of angry people, a lot of happy people too, got a lot of really good reviews. But, a lot of angry people too. It made me learn the hard way. This is how you talk to the 54-year-old gentleman trying to buy a Porsche.
Yep.
This is how you talk to the 21-year-old looking to buy their first sports car.
Yep.
This is how you talk to the mum of 3 living in the suburbs looking for a Honda Fit, a Nissan Note, maybe a Toyota Alphard, maybe a people mover.
Yep.
Going through that taught me how to speak to all these people. So when I started that business...
Adaptability is a key.
Correct. Especially, I'm sitting in Burnie, Tasmania. These people are in Melbourne, Adelaide. These aren't local people. They're just picking up the phone and calling me. I don't have a location. All of a sudden, when they call me, they're on the back foot. Of course, I would be too. So over the course of the first phone call, I've got to convince them that not only can you trust me, but I will deliver. And at the start, you do have to fake it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because my 2 cars still hadn't arrived before I'd signed up 4 more clients. I was just fucking praying that it worked.
Imagine if it didn't pay off.
Well, thank God it did.
Yeah.
Thank God it did. But you're right.
I know the mindset that you would be in there of like, fuck, this better work.
Yes. Luckily, thank God. Thank God it did work.
But that's the tenacity that you need to make a call and actually try and scale something and build something from nothing.
Yeah. And the other thing too was I could have waited, but after I posted that video and it went very, very well, all of a sudden, all the other importers and new import companies were popping up everywhere.
Yep.
Recording similar videos to what I had done. And that's why I thought, no, I need to keep my foot on the gas. If it all blows up, that is what it is. I don't want that to happen. I had enough savings so that if the cars that arrived, for whatever reason, had to go back to Japan or something, I could just cover it. So they were not at any real risk, other than not getting their car. But when I just smelled opportunity.
Yep.
I was getting 10 to 15 phone calls a day after I put that video up. It was going absolutely absurd.
That's awesome.
So, and this was only 5 months in.
Yep.
And I don't even think I had an ABN at the time. I had one from my old business, my finance brokering business, which I used. But, I didn't have the trading name Prestige Car Imports until I'd already imported maybe 15 cars.
Yep.
So it was just a Facebook page, just running some ads. And then obviously it went very well. After maybe 15 cars had arrived, every single customer loved it. Had a great experience. It didn't have a single...
Left a good review, all that? Good.
Got a bunch of good reviews to this day. Right now I've got 51 5-star reviews.
Yep. How many cars have you imported since the start?
Since I started...
Do you have a tally?
In 2024, I did 200 odd cars.
Cool.
So one every 2 days, pretty much. 2023, from March until, I don't actually know, over 100 maybe. So more than 300 cars in the last year and a half.
Yep.
And next month, March, is our 2-year anniversary. But, I had been importing cars from Japan since 2016.
Yeah.
So I knew everything already.
Yeah.
I just didn't know Australia.
Yeah.
And Australia has a lot of rules and regulations that are hard to follow, and they change a lot.
Right.
In fact, since I started in 2021, everything's changed again.
Yeah.
And it's constantly changing. So you have to be on top of it all the time. And the hardest part was just learning all the rules and regulations. What step 1 is, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And because I already had the contacts in Japan, I really wasn't that worried. The only thing I was worried about is the car turns up and customs go no. But I'd already done the research and knew that they could be imported, so that wasn't really a concern. The only concern then was, are the cars going to be good? And the only way to know if the cars are good, and I trust my inspectors with my life. Because I don't look at the car.
No.
They do. They send me the photos and the condition report. And if they're wrong...
And yeah, photos don't show everything.
Correct. So I need them to be on it.
Yep.
And sometimes they make mistakes. And when they do, I have to pay for them. Unfortunately, that's just how it works because the customer's dealing with me. But I've worn those on the chin and those customers have turned into happy customers. Because I'd much rather lose my fee to help them, if I have to, than get a bad review.
Yeah.
I'd much rather they be happy
Yeah.
and make no money.
Yeah.
It's because the review's worth, to me anyway, each review's worth 10 grand minimum. Genuinely. Especially in this industry where trust is everything, similar to you.
Yep.
So yeah, 6 months in, things were going really well. At the start of...
I need to cover that
Yeah, you're right.
for just a sec, sorry.
That is very bright, eh?
Oh, I can't see ya. It's glaring. I might just pull the roller door down just a bit too, because it's
No, you're on, mate.
coming from that shed over the road. Sorry.
You're right. It is bright.
Still
Honestly, that's better for my eyes.
recording. Yeah, white cars out there don't do it justice in here.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah, so 6 months in, things going really well.
Yep.
Video went really well. Maybe November 23 was a big month. I did a lot of cars that month, and that was probably when I realised, okay, I really got something here. The customers are happy, things are going pretty smoothly, but it was also at that time that I started having to work all the time. I didn't have a day off. I couldn't. There was just too much. And there was too many cars, there was too many people. And if I import your car today, you want updates. You want to know what's going on. Every week or two, I got to do the shipping documents, everything. And when you've got 30 cars coming, it's all staggered. Plus you've got new people calling you.
Yeah.
And it all builds up very quickly.
Yep.
And I scaled it very fast. Luckily, I understood from my issues with the New Zealand business, with the cash flow, I understood how I could handle it. So the money was never a problem. It was just the time. And I just, until probably January 24, I didn't have a day off.
Yep.
And if I wanted to, I couldn't. Because if I tried to sleep in, my phone would ring non-stop and then I would just get put behind.
Yep.
So I just worked and worked and worked, which was great because I loved it. And I loved getting the reviews and I loved talking to the customers and I got to import some crazy cool cars. And then in January, late January 24, so a year ago, I had someone in Hong Kong contact me who imports cars to Australia and he was just selling them to dealers. And he said, Dyson, I've seen what you're doing. And at this stage, my business name was Prestige Car Imports, but I hadn't toyed around too much with importing exotics. I had mainly stick to Japan because it was easy. And importing from the UK...
There's a lot of exotics in Japan though still.
There are, but most of them are left-hand drive.
Oh, really?
So all the Gallardos,
Okay.
almost all the R8s.
I'm surprised about
all
that.
the Ferrari 360s.
They drive on the left there.
They're same as us.
Yeah.
In Japan, it's a status symbol to drive a left-hand drive car. Because they're the manufacturer of all the right-hand drive cars. So pretty much anything pre-2010 is left-hand drive, if it's European.
Yep.
Almost everything.
Wow.
All of the Gallardos, all of the Ferraris, all the Porsches, they're all left-hand drive pre-2010.
There you go, the more you know. I didn't know that.
Except for a couple. Most people don't know that.
Yep.
So you can't import this from Japan because it's left-hand drive. So it's got to come from a right-hand drive country, which is the UK, Hong Kong, South Africa, New Zealand.
Right.
And Cyprus for God knows what reason. So he contacted me from Hong Kong and that got me thinking, right, well, I had done one car from the UK, but I wasn't advertising it because it's a lot more work. And I didn't have the network that I have in Japan that I had already built up. So I probably spent about 2 or 3 more months building up a network in South Africa. I already had one in New Zealand. I had one in Japan, South Africa. Now I had one in Hong Kong through my new contact there. And I had one in Europe as well. And I had these contacts, so I thought, right, I know how to get cars inspected in the UK now. I know, for example, pre-2000 cars need asbestos testing done. You don't have to do it, but if it gets here and it has asbestos, you're up for a 25 grand fine. So I would very much recommend it. But finding someone in the UK,
Wow.
Yep, finding someone in the UK to do it is not that easy.
Pre-2000, they had
Everything.
brake pads up until then with asbestos.
I've had a 99.
That's the only thing I can think that they would have it in.
Brake pads and rotors.
And rotors.
Yep.
Oh, I guess so.
And gaskets.
Ceramic compound rotors.
Toyota Crown gaskets.
Really?
Yep. I had a 99 Toyota Crown that had asbestos in the gaskets.
Did you get fined 25 grand for that?
No,
Or it got picked up before. Right, it got picked up before it came.
So in Japan,
yep.
And that's another thing that often people don't know about. Pre-2000 cars need to be checked. In Japan, easy, goes to the port, they do it there.
Yeah.
In the UK, no, not that easy. In Hong Kong, not that easy. In New Zealand, not that easy.
Right.
It has to go to a special shop. So you've got to organise transport from where it is to the asbestos, then to the shipping company, and you have to organise all these things within very close time frames, so you don't miss the boat.
Yep.
So that you don't get charged port fees. If the asbestos place doesn't want the car to sit there, so it's got to leave quickly, or they'll start charging you fees.
Yeah.
So I had to do a lot of recon. Now I've got contacts literally everywhere in the world, pretty much.
Yeah.
I imported a car from France last week, and but all that took time. So the first year, it was pretty much just Japan with a one-off car from New Zealand and a one-off car from the UK. And then I knuckled down, and it was after the guy in Hong Kong contacted me, I started thinking, right, well, everybody's importing cars from Japan. Importing cars from Japan is pretty easy. And you probably can do it yourself. You're going to have to do a bit of research, and trust me, you don't want to make a mistake because it will be expensive. But you can use any import broker. They will all import your car from Japan. But not all of them can get a car out of Hong Kong.
Right.
Not all of them can get a car out of South Africa. Not all of them can get a car from the UK, from France, from Ireland, from wherever it may be.
Yep.
I have all the connections everywhere, and the process is super simple for me. A, B, C, D, I've got everything completely figured out. But that didn't just happen, it took time. And, it wasn't like I just woke up and went, right, I'm going to import Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a review, you're not going to give me 150 grand.
No.
It was only after I had built up,
Yep.
got some reviews, got some word of mouth, got some positive press. And also it was a personal thing too, right? After a year, I'm like, I am killing this. I am doing a good job.
Yep.
My customers are happy. I've got 25-star reviews now. I must be doing something right. It's time to branch out a bit. Because there are other people who've tried, and they just start their page and their business, and they're like, yeah, I'll import your Lamborghini. Well, I don't fucking know you. I don't trust you. You don't have 50 reviews. I didn't hear from you from my mate Simon, who has got a car through you.
Yeah.
So I had to build it up slowly. And initially, of course, when I built the business, at the start, I wanted to import cool cars.
Of course.
I wanted to import cars that I liked.
You don't want to import care trucks.
I don't. I have, but I don't love them. I love sports cars.
Yeah.
I love cars in general. And that's what I wanted to do. But I had to start somewhere, right? So, I imported Nissan Notes, I imported Toyota Hiaces and all those cars for the first year. I got to do some R35 GTRs, and shout out to Renzo, who trusted me. He was one of my first R35 customers. I still work with him now, actually. He's a really good guy. He might be watching this, so shout out to Renzo. He's in WA as well. But, I got to import some cool cars in that first year, but mainly it was just like Toyota Crowns, more of the cheaper stuff. And then once I got all my connections, and I was a little bit more known in the industry, and my ads had been doing well, I thought, right, well, anybody can import a car from Japan because it's a fairly streamlined process. Not everybody can import a car from other countries, and no one's really advertising that they can.
No.
So I was like, right, I'm just gonna, same thing, when I started my business, I took a photo of a Lamborghini Gallardo, square image as it should be on Facebook. I ran an ad that said, you can import this car from 140 grand. 2 weeks later, I'd done 2 out of Hong Kong.
Awesome.
And and all that came from was me going, okay, well, F it, I'll run an ad. Let's see what happens. And because I did have the reviews, because I had some word of mouth and some trust, people trusted me with their money.
Yep.
They knew the car was going to arrive.
So they have to pay that full amount up front? Obviously, you've got to buy the car there, and you're not going to front the money for their
Correct.
car. Yep.
So it works different ways with different countries. The only place it works different from is Hong Kong.
Yep.
I've got a contact who's quite wealthy and buys the cars in Hong Kong.
Right. So he's then selling them on. Yep.
Yeah, so he gives them to me to advertise to people in Australia.
Right.
Now, he buys them, sends them to me, I advertise them here. In some scenarios, he's happy if someone pays a deposit and he'll send the car to Australia and then you can look at it and then pay the rest.
Yep.
From every other country, it doesn't work like that because I don't have someone in the UK that's an oil prince and will fund the money. So if it's any country other than Hong Kong, you have to pay for the car. You know, but
interesting.
But the hard thing too, and the reason why import brokers are so essential, is if you just call someone in the UK, right, John, a private seller, you don't know John. You don't trust John.
No.
You don't want to send John $150,000.
Especially a John in the UK.
Correct. He'd be John Smith too, I bet. And that's the most generic scammer name I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So you don't know if the car's real. Yes, it's advertised. Yes, it looks real. Yes, you've spoken to him on the phone, but you still don't trust him. We just don't. And particularly in Australia, we're very untrustworthy because there's a lot of scams here.
Yeah.
So that's where I come in.
Yep.
I get a guy to go and look at the car, inspect it, confirm it's real, shake the guy's hand.
How many have been scams and the car doesn't exist?
Never. Not when I've been involved.
Yeah.
But
I mean, has your person gone to look at the car and
Never.
it's that's good. You've got different ways of vetting it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can vet it. There have been times where people send me a car, especially a lot of cars in Hong Kong, and I just know they're not real.
Yep.
Even some cars in Japan, on GoNet, Be Forward, very popular websites, they sold years ago, and they're still up because the dealer's trying to get deposits.
Yeah, right.
And just take your money, because there's nothing you can do legally.
Right.
And you're not going to anyway, because it's a nightmare to sue someone overseas. You can't do it. You can, but like I said,
yeah, not worth it.
if you're buying a 20 grand car, you don't have 400 grand to hire an international law firm to go to battle for you.
Yeah.
So they just take the money and run and nothing ever happens. So particularly in the UK, where there isn't, in Japan, you've got the auction house. If you send the auction house the money, you can trust it.
Yeah, that's what they do.
If you send John Smith in the UK your money, he does not have to send that car.
No.
The car could be real, and he could be real, and you could send him the money, but he doesn't have to send the car.
He just does a runner.
He just does a runner. Takes the 100 grand and Bob's your uncle. So where a big part of my service comes in is my guy Joe in the UK. Shout out Joe, unbelievable. He's great. He does all my inspections for me, all across the UK. He will drive anywhere. He's been great. He's inspected 100 cars for me in the last year, I reckon. He's been great. He will drive to the car, confirm it's real, and in some cases, the client will send me the money, I'll send it to Joe, and if the car's real and it checks out, he'll just buy it on the spot.
Yeah, cool.
He'll try and negotiate and get it down, and if we can, the customer's obviously going to be very happy because the customer's just saved a bit of money. But Joe kind of does the legwork over there in the UK in particular for me. And I've got guys in Hong Kong, South Africa, New Zealand who do the exact same thing. And then, if it's pre-2000, it's got to get asbestos testing. Now, once the car's been bought, I have to take over and handle everything.
Yep.
All the logistics. So Taylor, because there's just too many cars at the moment, that's what Taylor does.
Yep.
She does all the admin and logistics. She keeps people up to date while I'm helping new customers and helping get inspections done.
Cool.
So probably start of 2024, once I started running the ad for that, I thought, right, well, what other exotic cars can we import? The Ferrari 360, done 10 of those. The coolest car I've helped import so far, I think, is I helped import a Lamborghini Diablo from Hong Kong.
I was going to ask what your favourite.
Yeah, that's
your pinnacle car so far.
That's my favourite car. I've helped import a couple more expensive cars. I won't say what they were. I think that car was about 400 grand from Hong Kong. That was my personal favourite car to import because I love that car. I love the Diablos.
That's
manual V12. Just
that was a bedroom poster car for me when I was young.
Yep. Mine was this.
Yeah. Oh, they came out. What year is it?
2004.
Yeah. So
I started at 03.
So I was well into my 20s by then.
Yeah.
The Diablo was
9.
like, I remember the first time I ever seen one. It was at a racetrack. And
cool.
it was it was a birthday present to go for a couple of laps in it. Oh, terrifying. But
You
yeah,
went in it?
Yeah, it was a birthday present to go for.
I haven't been in one.
I got
Not
six hot laps in a full caged out race car. Yeah, it was wild. So yeah,
Manual V12, the look,
full gated manual,
and the gated manuals feel
the
incredible.
brakes. Oh my god, I thought we were going to die. The first time we came to the end of the long straight, it was the track doesn't exist anymore. They knocked it down. Actually, Mighty Car Mods did a video. They're rebuilding it in Sydney. I can't remember what it's called. Wakefield. I can't remember what it's called now.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's too many years ago. I was only maybe 20 years old then.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was an insane lap. Oh,
I haven't been in
that
one.
was so fast.
Man, I'm jealous. I've only seen it.
The braking, I was sore from the harnesses.
Jeez.
Just, I wasn't ready for it. It just ragdolled me on the braking. I was like panicking, thinking we're just going to keep going and hit that wall, and it just went. And it was. As hard as it braked, it was so fast to slow down. Yeah. And then you're like...
And then you're gone.
Then you're round the corner and my head's like this. That was intense. But yeah, it was...
Racing, was it straight piped?
Hey?
Was it straight pipe?
I don't know the details. You don't get told that. I assume being a full-blown race car, yes. It was definitely loud.
Yeah, they sound unbelievable.
Yeah, like yours is quiet compared to what that was.
Yeah, well, that's fucking loud.
Yeah,
so.
This is loud. Like that was
next level.
That was when it started. It full startled you and made you jump.
That's so cool.
Actually, when I started this in here,
the acoustics.
After I had the spark plugs changed, we had a customer in the office. Ebony was serving, and he full jumped.
Well, it has that loud thud when it.
It's a crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good when it backfires. I love it. I every time I downshift, I just give it the tiniest bit of gas. I don't know why. It just makes me happy. It just does.
Because it does.
It makes me happy.
They're wicked machines.
It's
like I do the same with this. I love the noises
it makes. If I could do a Diablo, I would. Manual V12 is so that.
You'll get there.
That's the car that I think it's the most coolest that I probably help import.
My pinnacle, I think, if I could ever afford to get it, would be Murcielago.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've helped import one of those.
I have?
Yeah. From Hong Kong.
Sick.
Yeah.
So you go to Diablo over Murcielago? That's your preference?
Mate, pop-up headlights.
Ah.
They do it for me. Is that your, like, if you had infinite money?
No.
What's your infinite money?
Oh, McLaren.
Which one?
Senna.
If
you had infinite money.
Good shout.
Yeah, if you had infinite money.
$25 million now.
Yeah, if you had infinite money. If I had Adrian Portelli money.
Yeah, you can get them right and drive.
Senna and put it in my apartment like he did. Yes. What a baller move.
Did you see the photo of it getting lifted?
Yeah, the video of it.
Heart attack.
Yeah.
I don't care if I got $1 billion.
Did you see that kid? Oh, cool car. What do you do for a living?
Yes.
He went to his apartment.
I haven't seen
here in Australia. Yeah.
I saw him talking to Pagani, Horatio Pagani.
Yeah, no, he's been here in Australia, and it was obviously a setup. Adrian's driving into the car park of the building at the time when he's there, and he's like,
"What do you do?" Yeah,
it's like that's the only person you're going to find driving a supercar like around there.
That's so cool. I haven't seen it. I'll have to watch that because the guy who does my videos for me, shout out to Flynn, good guy. He used to do the videos for them.
Oh, cool.
For LMCT, Troy Candy, all those boys. He's my videographer. Yeah. He's brilliant.
Have you seen his latest Lambo that he got? I don't even know what it's called.
If it's a new one, it'll be
the newest Lambo they've released.
The four-door off-roading one, Starara?
No. Like it's the predecessor to the Aventador.
Oh, the hybrid hypercar.
Yeah.
Has he got one already?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were being sold yet.
Well, I don't know if it's the hybrid or it might be just the next gen of the Aventador. It looks kind of like Aventador, but way more outlandish.
I've seen it. I just don't know the name of it.
I thought the Aventador couldn't be any more outlandish. And this is just... I don't know the name, even if you said it.
T something, I think. But I've seen it. They're crazy.
Yeah. So it was only this last maybe 3 months ago he did the unveil at the dealership, and it was him and Troy Candy there. He just look at it, and then goes and rips donuts in it.
That's the good thing, I must say. Like, he was a genius for that business model. Fucking brilliant. but they fucking drive them and they flog them. I love it.
I love the, have you watched the podcast that he does a sit down chat with a guy?
I haven't.
You're a man of watching podcasts. You've already told us that.
I am a podcast guy.
He loves watching podcasts about people that have made money and doing successful things. Sit down and watch this Adrian Portelli podcast. It's on YouTube. I can't remember what the guy's name is. He's a bald fella. They're sitting in one of Adrian's houses on a couch.
Okay, if I just Google Portelli podcast,
it'll come up. And the thing that he's, I guess, that I picked up on that I thought, wow, because I looked at that business model, I'm like, maybe I could put that up and get rid of it.
Everyone in Australia has had the exact same thought.
So many people, but then when I watched that podcast, I'm like, no, I'm out. And I'm glad I did, because I wouldn't have got that back.
The money for it? No.
Don't reckon. Not now.
Not the first one.
It's flooded. It is flooded now.
It's absurd.
But he said he takes extreme pleasure in working so hard, but like behind the scenes, but in the public eye, he just makes it look easy. And that's why so many people look at it and have a crack at doing it. That would not be easy.
It's not easy.
No way.
Nothing. If you run a business, no business is easy. I don't care what it is. Even if it's drop shipping and you don't even barely have to be involved, you still got to set up an ad, even if you pay someone to do it.
You've got to find a product that is going to sell.
But correct.
Or products.
But also, you can't do that unless you have the knowledge.
Yeah.
And the knowledge is the thing.
And here's behind the scenes stuff of having that many people as subscribers to what he's doing.
Oh, mate, can you imagine the amount of angry people who got charged when they thought they'd cancelled and are abused? Like, it'd be crazy.
Like the behind the scenes of the software.
Yeah, that runs it all.
That runs all that. He writes that.
Didn't know that.
He's the
coder.
He's the guru that has built that. That's why he's able to do what he does.
Brilliant. I mean, it all.
Watch the podcast. You'll learn amazing things about the man. Like yeah.
But it's you should learn shit from people like that.
Yeah.
I hate people. I hate people who get jealous or
I'm still wanting to get my idea where I'm not working my backside off. Well, I'm going to be here after this doing that skyline.
Yeah. I'm going home to make phone calls.
Yeah.
Which is it's a lot easier on the body.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's Friday afternoon. We should be doing nothing, having a beer, but we're both working. But I don't want to do anything else.
That's being a business person.
It's just how it is.
I know my wife will be home on the computer organising next week.
Yeah.
Like, after this, once I go home from this, I'm going home to keep teaching.
Keep working on next week.
I'm teaching myself how to 3D model on CAD.
Nice.
Like,
that's a great idea.
Well, I am seeing gaps in the market for dyno tuning of products that aren't available that you need as tools to correctly measure things on the dyno.
Okay. I like it. And you want to sell to them?
I'm going to sell it, to anywhere that's like, so you get a lot of, so just straight up, a lot of the diesels that you get in on the manifolds, there's nowhere you can put that boost line to measure the boost that the engine's actually receiving.
Yep.
So I need to make, there's sensors that are bolted onto the manifold.
Are they correct or are they a guess?
Well, they're going through the ECU.
Yeah.
But my dyno doesn't read from the ECU of the car to the screen. And I don't want to trust that sensor is clean and functioning correctly and right. Because if it's not, and I'm putting 15 pound
through engines.
If I'm putting 15 pound boost in it, but it's actually 20. Receiving 20, that's a big problem.
Yes.
So I'm going to design adapters for every model that you can't do that to.
Smart.
Because there's only maybe 4 cars on the market at the moment in the diesels that there are resellers of products that you can do that for, but there's a lot.
This is the kind of product that is niche enough, not too niche, but niche enough that the market is good.
But anyone that wants to put a boost gauge on their 4-wheel drive can only do it through the OBD port if they don't have this adapter.
Is that right?
Yeah. So if they want to put an actual boost gauge that's not reading off that sensor, and they want to know what that manifold's receiving. And if they've got a built engine with big boost in it, they're not wanting to trust the computer.
No.
They're wanting to trust an actual proper analog gauge.
Yes.
And this adapter
does that
idea, I'll be able to make that work.
So do you have more customers for tuning or for mechanical work?
At the moment, mechanical work, but we're definitely getting more and more inquiries every week, every month.
If I'm wrong, but it's less work, more money. Is that right?
It's
about volume tuning. I guess.
What you're paying for, I guess. Yes, you're paying for a $70,000 tuning tool, the dyno.
Yes.
The use of that wasn't free for me to buy.
That alone is a big investment.
It's not going to be free for someone to use just because I own it.
Correct.
And like I've got to pay it back to myself of buying that, and that was a big dent in the life savings.
No doubt.
And then there's all the knowledge that I've got to develop
over years
and practice and perfect, and we haven't had a damaged engine yet.
No, and that's
by being careful and doing it right and taking your time and someone's trusting you with their vehicle to make sure it's going to be reliable and
the knowledge is a big
all
thing.
that. Yeah,
same thing. That's
not everyone can do it, and you can, and the same thing. You can go and read all the books about it. You can go and watch all the tutorial videos. You can buy all the training videos, but if you haven't got that dyno, you don't know whether you're going to be able to do it or not.
Yep. And even if you do go and do it and you've read all the books and you do it for the first time, you might just blow it up. Like if you think you can do it yourself.
Well,
and that's where the knowledge comes in.
If you don't know how to check injectors, you could have a cylinder dead in seconds of putting it on there before you even put a tune in. If you haven't done your pre-tune checks, pre-dyno checks, instantly there's 20 grand down the drain.
Would you rather do the dyno work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only because I'm
easier on the body, right?
I'm 47 years old. Like I'm nearly 50.
Yeah.
And there's only so much physical labour work I want to actually do.
Yeah. You want to get away from
I want to exercise this.
Yeah. To stop exercising.
Put it there. As much as a lot of people think I'm too dumb to be doing it, I'm successfully doing it. I do use TuneWorks as help for the files and stuff like that, but I still have to monitor the car. I still have to make sure everything's good and all that sort of stuff. But
you get more knowledge.
That's
for the next
right.
one, for the next one, for the next one, for the next one. The thing is, like,
an understanding of how they all work and all their limits, and
in particular,
it's a dark art still.
Well, it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, people were doing it.
It came when, so it's only recent years that they become common rail computer controlled engines.
Is that why?
So yeah. So before that, they are just mechanical. So there's a diesel engine originally was just a rotary pump that, as the pump created pressure for that line, it already had the fluid in it to the injector. It pushes enough pressure that goes squirt into that cylinder at that time. And as it rotates, that's timing with each cylinder as it gets to the top of the center, it squirts the fuel in. So with a common rail diesel, you've got each injector's got full pressure at the injector, and it electronically is controlled by the computer and opens.
Mechanical pump.
Yep. Right. So there's a pump that's just got a constant pressure built to a common rail, and then the injectors the lines come out to the injectors, and they've got pressure at the pintle in the injector.
At each cylinder.
It's a little needle, and then as soon as that opens, it squirts fuel in, and that's controlled by a computer. So
when did they swap to that?
The earliest ones are 2000-ish.
Okay, so
like 2003, 4.
So there's shitloads.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say 2012.
No. There's
well, people just not doing it.
Some manufacturers took a while to pick it up and do it. But yeah, from 2010 onwards, diesels, most of them are all common rail now.
Yeah, interesting. Because in terms of the actual tuning, are many... I had not even heard of a place doing diesel tuning until, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
Was it was being done, it just wasn't that common?
Yeah, it's being done, it just hadn't been picked up.
I feel like it's way more popular now.
Well, most of them come out of the box and they run like shit. Honestly, they are gutless. Like, you can get a big gain, like you can get 30% gain with just leaving everything stock.
Just a simple, that's crazy.
Like, not even changing exhaust.
I mean, this car, just getting rid of the cats gives you 20 horsepower.
Yeah.
Like, it's absurd.
Yeah.
You put an air intake.
But that from, what is it, 550 horsepower?
It's nothing.
It's not a big percent.
Yeah.
But when you've got
40
a vehicle
meters,
that makes 90 horsepower and then it pumps 130, 140.
Gain. 40, 50% gain.
Like, we've got Land Cruisers that roll on there and they're 140 when they come in, and then they're making 220.
Yeah, that's a fucking huge difference.
Yeah.
Stock.
That's just a turbo upgrade, and everything else completely stock. Standard intercooler, standard injectors, just an exhaust and the turbo.
Are the diesels often, because they last forever, right? Are they often engineered?
Oh, they don't last forever.
No.
They do have their problems now.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. I don't know anything about diesels. That's completely out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I know about the Land Cruisers. I know about the hate.
That's a big education block, that one.
Okay.
But pretty much the Common Rail diesels are running insane amount of pressure in their fuel system.
Yeah, okay.
And when I say insane, I'm talking 60,000 PSI. Like, you get a split, it'll cut your arm off.
Yeah.
Pressure.
Right.
If you had your hand in the way when it happened. Extreme sort of pressures, but that comes at a cost of, you get water in your fuel, you get contamination in your fuel, you get a bit of grit or sand that is from a dirty fuel.
You're in trouble.
And it goes through an injector hole that's that small you can barely see it with the naked eye. At that pressure, it just opens up, and that full pressure of 60,000 PSI going straight in the top of the piston, and you're at 3,000 RPM, drills a hole straight through it into the sump.
Yeah, I've heard of sand because it goes so fast.
Yeah, water, just water. The water droplet is a bit bigger molecule than diesel, so it will break the injector.
I've heard of that.
At times, not all the time, but you get enough of it going through. It can break it.
All right, well, I gotta go. Any final closing?
Just thanks for coming, and let's do more of it,
mate.
Let's do another one in a couple of months and see how you're going. Because
I'll be back. I normally come back twice a year, so I'll be back in July-ish, and then I'll be back December again.
Yep.
But be good.
It's been a pleasure.
Hopefully, I can do more cool cars. And I have a few more stories.
Have we got time for a 5-minute lap?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yep. All right, we'll get some footage of that.
Yeah.
Going for a drive in a Lambo.
Let's go.
It sounds so good.
Yeah, it feels even better when you're actually going.
Woo. V12, V10 in there. Oh. Yeah, pull that twice, I've worked out.
Yes, I know.
You worked it out too.
I don't know why it's like that, it just is. Oh. Right, this way or that way? Is there anything down there?
Yep, nothing coming.
Beautiful.
So this is the inside. The note of it. Oh. I'm just going to turn around and let it look at us, because there's nothing really to see in front of us other than you've got a couple of gauges, but
there's nothing fun.
The gauge that you guys need is the smiles on
our faces
and the noise. It's just superb, isn't it? Just go left here. We'll just go up to the roundabout before the homemaker centre and come back. That'll do.
It's a nice little drive, actually. The thing I love about it, right, is it sounds like that and it feels amazing, but then it's calm. Like my Supra was so difficult to drive all the time.
Yeah.
I've driven a manual one of these, and they're really good, but they're fucking pretty hard to drive.
Right.
Because the shifter position's quite awkward. It's quite high.
You must feel baller knowing this is yours to drive around.
I feel good, yes.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely didn't drive like that. That's sick. I get it so bad now why people want these so much. Oh yeah.
I haven't driven it like this in weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. Mate. Damn it. I've had this car for 3 or 4 months now.
Yep.
And it doesn't change. The smile, mate.
Oh, I didn't ever get old.
up when I brought it to you, and I'm almost at half.
Wow.
Which is what, 3 dev trips?
Yeah.
So it's not great. I love the N50.
Oh yeah, I was enjoying that.
You know, I've driven Porsche GT3 with the PDK. And they shift amazing, they feel amazing, they're so fucking quick. But I actually prefer the slower, more mechanical shift to this.
Right.
I really do.
Yeah. It just gives you that confidence that it's just engaged and it's just ready to go again.
It's like it just takes a split second, a bit longer than those other transmissions.
Yeah. It is a 20-year-old car though. It's only like...
But it feels more visceral. You know? It actually feels like it's doing something.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in and I'm sure you know, when you're in a newer car, a newer sports car, it shifts so fast that it's just there's no reaction. Nothing happens.
Yeah, this is like snapping your neck. Very cool.
It's
Very
so
cool.
satisfying.
Just go straight ahead, keep following him for a second. We'll go in the back street, come around, drop me off, and then you can go straight out the street.
I'm enjoying those, mate. It's so good.
You're badly making me want one. Badly making me want one.
Next car, I'll import you one.
Oh, I don't have that kind of cash.
Get your loans.
Swap me a Supra?
I sold a Supra to get this. Is it here?
No, just after the... Alright, I'll tell you when. What gear are you in there?
The other thing I love, which is different to the Supra, the torque. It's go.
Yeah. Mine, I'll have to take you for a ride in mine one day. My turbo is that small, it is instant as soon as you put the foot down.
I've been in a S15 that had a 8070.
Yep.
And it had 500 horsepower, so it was pretty much maxed out, I think, for that turbo.
Go left here.
But it was like instant.
Yeah.
2,500 onwards, you were pretty much full boost.
Yeah. So this is our street here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, there's not going to be anything coming in. You can get rid of it. It's a bit bumpy here. Poor lady walking a dog that don't want to think. If you ever get a chance, don't ever say no to go for a ride in a Lamborghini.
Holy shit.
Oh,
thank you very much.
it has been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you. I'm sorry I held you up a bit, half an hour longer than expected.
I never drive it like this, so I'm glad you got in.
Cool.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, just drop me off out the front and I'll get some footage on the outside as you leave. I'll move that stick though.
It brings me such joy. It really does.
It's been a pleasure. Alright,
thank you.
I better get out, let this man get home.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, we'll set something up for next time I'm back.
Yep.
Absolutely. And if I still have it, I'll probably need you to do something to it.
Twin turbo.
Yes. I looked into it.
Oh.
And the kit alone is 37 USD, 50 grand Australian. Just the kit.
Yeah.
The labour, I mean, it'd take you a month.
Oh yeah. Whole engine, cradle, everything out.
It'd be 50 grand in labour too.
Yeah, probably. I'll just get this so you don't ruin your front splitter. Alright, let's hear it on the outside. Cheers, bro. So, yeah, I'll get that to you. I'll post it to you or something if need be. Come past before you go on the boat. Yeah, sick. Sender. Oh, what a car. I don't know why that was all bright and stuff there, but yeah, sorry if it was all out of glare. I don't know if I can fix that in post-production. Thank you, Dyson. I know you'll watch this. That was an awesome sit-down chat. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Keep kicking goals. I'll make sure I link all his details down below if you want to get a car imported by him. Cheers for watching, guys. Thanks very much. See you later. So we finished the video yesterday, and then I realised we didn't actually ask you some important questions. So I've got you to come back, and he hasn't bought the Lambo today. He's rocked up in an MG.
Yes, a piece of lovely engineering. Lovely engineering. It's Mum's car, so...
I think you need to upgrade it.
Yes.
For Mum, get her a nice crown or something.
We'll be importing Mum's next car. That's
speaking of getting a crown.
Yes.
If I wanted to buy a crown, how does someone get hold of you to buy that? How do we do this?
So, if you're interested in importing a car, and that can be from anywhere, whether it's a Crown from Japan, a Lamborghini from Hong Kong, a Porsche from Europe, doesn't matter. I can help import anything from anywhere. The first step is either reach out on social media, which is Prestige Car Imports everywhere. Go to the website, put an inquiry form in, or just give me a call. 045678 2466. Call me anytime. I'm pretty much always working, so I'll always answer. The process is pretty straightforward. Essentially, the best first thing to do is to just call me. Because there's a lot of information online that's outdated, that's wrong. It's a little bit hard to research most of this stuff yourself. If you call me, I can just give you a rundown of everything. All you need to know is, and you've already said you want a crown. If you're interested in importing a car, the things I need to know are year, make and model, spec or version, there's a lot of crowns, and what your budget is. They're the three main things.
So do the research of exactly what it is you're after.
Yeah, do a bit of research on what car you're after. A good rule of thumb is if the car can be imported, whatever it's selling for in Australia, if it's say under 50 grand, you can save at least 5 grand normally by importing.
Right.
If it's under 20 grand, you can save maybe 3 or 4 grand. As you get over 50 grand, you can start saving quite a decent chunk of money.
Yeah, sick.
So it's always good to just call and ask the question. I'm always available, happy to chat. And all that information I give away is for free. You don't have to pay me for any of it. I only get my deposit fee or my agent's fee paid when I've spoken to you, I've confirmed that your budget's good, so I know we're not wasting time. That's when you pay my fee. And then I'll advise you, Toyota Crown, buy from Japan. Lamborghini, we could look in the UK, Hong Kong, South Africa, New Zealand, a Ferrari, a Porsche. You can get them for different prices from all different places. So we don't just do one place. We've helped import cars from France. We've helped import cars from Thailand, Malaysia, pretty much everywhere. So year, make, model, budget, give us a call, put in an inquiry online, visit us on social media, and then we'll call you, we'll talk to you about everything, and then we just go from there.
Cool. Right, so what are we'll go top 3, maybe top 5 of most commonly asked questions that people don't have the information ready for when you get them on the phone. So then you can prep them up. So obviously you make a model and all that, you've covered that. Is there anything else that they should have, or is there other things that are just commonly asked questions that you can answer before someone rings you and wastes your time or anything like that?
The biggest question that we get asked is probably, can I import this? And the answer is maybe. Most of the time, it just depends on the year, make and model. So they're the things that we really need to know. There is anything that's 25 years or older can be imported. Anything, so right now it's 2025, in February 2025, so we can import vehicles from February 2000 and before. And that just keeps rolling up as everything becomes 25 years old. There are pretty much no restrictions. We can import anything 25 years or older. If it's not 25 years old, it has to be on something called the SEVS list, which is a Specialist Enthusiast Vehicles Register or scheme. If it's not on that list and it's not 25 years or older, we can't import it. There's no loopholes, there's no special thing that we can do. It cannot come in. If it does come in, it'll get seized at customs and they'll just tell you that it's got to go back. And you don't want that, trust me, it's an expensive mistake. So that's probably the most asked question. The second most asked question is probably, can you help import from here? And the answer is yes, we can help import from anywhere. Other than that, we get a lot of varied questions because everyone is trying to import a different car. Most people aren't quite aware of the budget that they need for cars, particularly older cars. When you're importing a Supra, for example, there is no point importing Supras. They're cheaper in Australia. There is no point importing Skylines. not GTTs. GTRs are a touch cheaper, but not that much.
Yep. But one of these, you're just going to pick it up in Australia cheaper.
You can go buy for 20 grand in Australia. It's 40 grand from Japan.
Right.
The only reason to import Silvias, older JDM cars, is not to save money anymore. Because I get asked about older JDMs quite a lot. Probably 80% of my inquiries are those cars. You cannot import 90s, 80s, 70s JDM cars, rear-wheel drive turbos, cheaper than what they are in Australia. It just isn't possible anymore. The reason you buy them from Japan is you spend the same money as one here, but from Japan you're going to get verified kilometres, you're going to know if it's had any accident history, and it's going to be looked after better and in better condition. So when you're thinking about importing an older car, particularly JDM, it's not to save money anymore. It isn't possible.
Yeah, I'd love to find a Silvia in Australia that hasn't been thrashed by a young guy.
Correct, and they have unreported accident. They've been rolled back 17 times. If a Skyline has been in Australia since 2009 and it has 83,000 kilometres, it doesn't.
Yep.
It has 500,000 kilometres.
And it's been rolled back. Yep.
And I've even seen people import cars from Japan knowing they've been rolled back and then sell them here, even though on the auction sheet it says 246,000 kilometres. It gets here and all of a sudden it's got 83,000.
Yep.
So be very wary buying from Australia, within Australia, and that's why if you're going to go and spend 70 grand on an R32 GTR, right, you can import an R32 GTR for 70 grand. It may not be as modified, or it may not be, a V-spec or whatever, but it's going to have genuine kilometres because we can check that in Japan. You're going to know if it's had any accident history or been repaired in the past because they get checked every 2 years in Japan. They get their Sharkins. So we have a good history of the car. Whereas if you go and buy one from Tom down the road, you have no idea. It says 89,000 kilometres on the dash. You don't have any way to prove that. He's not going to have documents from back in 92. Sometimes in Japan, they do have documents all that far back.
Yep.
So the reason you import older cars, and this kind of goes for Porsches and other things as well, is because in other countries, they just have a better system.
Yep.
In Japan, they've got records for vehicles from the 60s.
And they're more honest.
And they're way more honest. But they are genuinely honest.
Painfully honest.
Painfully honest. Unlike a lot of us Australians who are just going to sell their car by any means fucking necessary.
Yeah.
So when it comes to older cars, it's not about saving money anymore. There's too much competition from America, from the UK, from Europe, from everywhere. You're importing those cars, or you're looking for those cars if you have a good budget, a budget that could get you one here already, and you are just looking for something that you know is genuine, hasn't been involved in an accident. I've seen, and you've probably seen this too, you get a Skyline or a Supra or something up on the hoist and it's never been reported to have been in an accident.
Yeah.
And you look at underneath and the front chassis is bent. It's crashed into many a thing. I have no doubt you've seen...
I've seen GTRs and the whole chassis being re-welded on the front.
Correct, and they do such shit jobs. And in Japan, if that's been done.
Yep.
It will be recorded.
Yep.
Another question we get asked, a really popular question actually, is can you help me inspect the car?
Yep.
Yes. Doesn't matter where it is.
Yep.
It's a lot easier in Japan because of the system that they have. It's a lot easier in the UK as well. In other countries, it's a touch more difficult, but we can still help. Yep. You just need to let us know what you're interested in and we will find someone to inspect it.
So if someone finds a car online, is that what you mean? So if they found one that they've looked at, they've done a bit of research and gone, oh, there's that, I'd like to get that.
Yes.
Call you.
Correct.
And they can get it.
If you, exactly. If you, that's a good one actually. Yep. If you have found a car on, like in Japan, you've got Goonet, B Forward and these other ones. In the UK, there's Auto Trader, America Auto Trader, South Africa Auto Trader, New Zealand, it's called Trade Me. They're like our car sales.
Yep.
If you have found a car on those, send me the link. I will tell you what it'll owe you landed and complied, and then I can help you get it inspected. So we don't have to always find you the car. You could just browse every night in the UK or in Japan or whatever, find something nice that you like, send the link to us. We'll tell you what it'll owe you landed and complied. If it matches up, we'll go get it inspected.
Cool. I guess the only other question that I would have if I was getting a car is what's the time frame after you get the deposit?
Yeah, good question. It depends on the country. Japan, once we've bought it from auction, say, or from a dealer, if we bought it today, you would be driving that car here in 3 months. So 12-ish weeks.
12 weeks, yep.
From the UK, it's closer to about 4 months total. New Zealand, I mean, you could be driving that car in 10 weeks if it goes well. It's all country dependent, but I mean, the longest time you're ever going to have to wait is 6 months, which could be something from the States, maybe something from the UK, just depending on the shipping times. But ask us and we can give you a more accurate time frame at the time. But Japan, UK, New Zealand, Hong Kong, South Africa, 3 to 4 months max you're going to be waiting.
Yep, cool. Awesome. All right, well, thank you very much for coming back. Really appreciate being able to finish it off and do that, because that was a very important part of it.
It's going to be a good cut when it cuts guys like this.
Yeah, it's all good. I think I introduced it to you as well.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Thank
you very much.
Let's do this again.
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
And thank you guys for watching.
Cheers for the ride in the Lambo. That was sick.
No problem.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Comment below. Tell us what you think of what we've done. This is going to be a new format. I'm going to do a lot more of these. So see more of these in the future. If you like it, make sure you subscribe and follow along.
Beautiful.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Let's go. That was good.
Yeah, that was fucking